this time, I call the Stokes County Board of Commissioners meeting to order at 6 o'clock. I'll ask Mr. Woods if he would do the invocation.
Let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, thank you for the freedom we have in this country to gather together for meetings like this. Be with us as we conduct this meeting and give us a safe trip home. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I get approval of the agenda.
Approval with two exceptions. We need to swap the discussion agenda with public hearing first, and then we need to add a closed session.
Second.
Motion. You made the second.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move down to the comments from the commissioners. I'll start with Commissioner Cox.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank everybody for being here and for all the interest that's been expressed in this subject for tonight, and for all the people who took time to come out, the ones that are watching online. And I'm going to keep my comments brief because I plan to make more comments as the meeting progresses later on. So thanks.
Mr. Woods.
Yes, thanks everybody coming. Please respect all the speakers because we're not beyond clearing the room. It might take a while, but let's respect each other's views. Everybody have a safe trip home. It's been a long day for me.
Mr. Chandler.
Just welcome everybody. It's nice to see such a good crowd, and we all can have different opinions, and that's what America's about. But I think that we need to respect each other. A lot of times listening and then asking the questions and not over talking people. I think that we all be respectful, and I think we'll make the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. It's great to have you out here tonight. We're anxious to hear what everybody has to say, and look forward to getting this business conducted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Again, reiterate some of what the other commissioner said. It's great to see everybody tonight. Big crowd. It's great to see people come out to the local government and have input. I would like to reiterate what Commissioner Wood said. Please, no outbursts, no clapping, because we got to get through this. And Olivia's got to call out names, so please reform clapping, outbursts, and all that once we get to the public hearing part. And I appreciate that. Conflict of interest before moving forward. Does any board member have any conflict with any of the items on the agenda for the day, or one that could be perceived with a conflict of interest?
No.
Move to consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, move to the public hearing. You got the list from,
I do.
thank you.
I'm just going to read out procedure, just like we normally do.
Everyone please listen to what Olivia's reading out.
Procedures, and then Eric could jump up.
I think we were going to let the applicant speak first and then let the comments come right after that,
Okay. Is that all right?
if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
okay. So the first item we have for a rezoning request tonight, item 1, is case 25-0887, and it's a rezoning by Jackson G. Bowles from RA Residential Agricultural to Highway Business HB. The request is a petition to amend the zoning map of Stokes County, and it has been filed by Jackson G. Bowles of Case School Road, Madison, North Carolina, 27025, to rezone the property from RA Residential Agricultural to HB Highway Business located at 4835 US 311 Pine Hall, North Carolina, zip code 27042. It's listed as Stokes County Tax Parcel 699-401-478-819 to accommodate a small retail shed business. No manufacturing will be taking place on site. He basically just wants to sell some buildings out there is basically what we're looking at. And at this time, I would ask Mr. Bowles if he want to come forward just to say a few words before we have public comment.
Hey, good evening, County Commissioners. As stated, my name is Jackson Bowles, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys tonight. I'm here to request the rezoning of the property at 4385 US 311 in Pine Hall from residential agriculture to highway business. The purpose of this request is to open a small shed lot for my new business, Ridgeline Buildings and Structures. I've grown up in this community and graduated from South Stokes High School in 2020. I currently reside in Madison, where I've lived for the last 22 years. I graduated from Appalachian State University last December with a bachelor's degree in graphic communications management. And since May of 2024, I've been working in metal building sales. My goal is to use my education and experience to build a long-term career in the metal building and shed industry right here in Stokes County. As part of the process, I held a public information meeting on November 10th. No one opposed the rezoning. I also spoke directly with 2 neighboring property owners, and both were fully supportive of the plan. My intentions for the property are really straightforward. This will be a small, clean, low-impact business. The lot will display sheds of different sizes, colors, styles, but there are no plans to place any permanent structures on the property at this time, and the business will create very minimal traffic. I believe it will be a positive addition to the area, providing a needed service while maintaining the rural character of the community. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
I don't have any, but I commend you for starting your own business.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you doing it as well, and that'll be a great addition to the county.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
So the applicant is requesting to rezone one parcel totaling approximately 6.88 plus or minus acres from RA to highway business to accommodate the establishment of the retail shed business. Based on staff review, the proposal lines up with the county's business-friendly initiative and the land use policies outlined in the Stokes County 2035 long-range plan. The requested rezoning represents a reasonable and appropriate expansion of commercial activity in this area. It supports local economic development goals, offers a potential increase to the tax base, and of course is consistent with the long-range vision for promoting compatible commercial uses along highway corridors. The applicant has been cooperative and transparent throughout the process, engaging with adjacent property owners, responding to inquiries, and providing all information requested by planning staff. All required materials for Stokes County's rezoning petition process have been completed and submitted in full. Based on the information presented, staff finds the request to be in the best interest of the citizens of Stokes County and recommends moving the petition forward for consideration.
Eric, we didn't move this to action tonight.
Yes, sir.
Need a
Public hearing?
Oh. That's right, 2 weeks.
Open a public hearing? Public hearing next.
Okay.
Public hearing on just this.
Just this
Yes.
topic, yes, that's correct.
Yes.
So,
Did anybody sign up?
We did not have anyone sign up for the public hearing regarding Mr. Boyle's application.
If we could close that to action.
Well, I got a consensus here.
Don't you need a motion?
Yeah. I hear a motion.
I'll do a motion.
Second.
Yeah, I need to read the motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve rezoning request number 25-0887 submitted by Jackson Bowles to rezone 6.88 plus or minus acres from RA, residential agricultural zoning district, to HB, highway business zoning district for retail shed business. This request is consistent with Stokes County 2035 long-range plan and is a reasonable request. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
tax. Now, go to public hearing. Okay.
Eric gets back up.
The next item on the agenda tonight, item 2, is a text amendment from the Planning Department of Stokes County. Stokes County Planning Department is requesting a text amendment to the current Stokes County zoning ordinance to include data centers listed as definition under Article 4, Section 41, and add data centers to the permitted use table in the Stokes County zoning ordinance under Section 92.1 M2CZ, heavy manufacturing conditional zoning. This request will add clarity to the permitted use table and prepare Stokes County for future land use. The definition to be added would be data center, a building or group of buildings in which computer servers, digital storage systems, and networking equipment are installed for the purpose of processing, managing, or storing electronic data. This use may include ancillary support areas such as control rooms, limited office space, mechanical equipment, and emergency power systems.
If there's no comment from the board on that application, I'd suggest moving forward to the opportunity for the introduction and the opportunity for the second applicant to describe their rezoning request.
Applicant 3. Yeah, if you would like to go ahead and speak on that.
Good evening, I'm Nathan Duggins. I'm an attorney with Tuggle Duggins. I'm not going to speak a lot tonight. I'm probably just going to introduce our first speaker. We've got a number of other speakers here tonight on both item 2 and 3. As y'all know, they're connected. Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Nations. He's got a PowerPoint presentation he's going to walk through. We'd like to reserve a little time at the end to field questions from the commission, but also to try to respond to any questions we hear during the public comment period. I also wanted to lift up, I'm sorry Mr. Fox can't be here tonight. I know y'all know him, and he's dealing with some family emergency back, or up in Boone actually. So I'm a poor substitute for him tonight, but I'll do my best to try to navigate as we go through this evening's proceedings. Okay, so with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Nations as our first speaker.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for having me. My name is Drew Nations, and on behalf of Engineered Land Solutions, the landowner, and many others that are here tonight, we just want to thank you for your attention to this matter of what we're calling Project Delta, and for all of the time and effort that you have put into studying this. I know this is there's been a lot to process and learn here, and it has been a fun journey. And hopefully tonight with this presentation, we can go through Project Delta in just a little more detail, clarify the facts, and make sure that we're all talking about the same Project Delta.
Can we pause for just a second?
Yes.
Because the noise from outside is pretty distracting. Can we get a deputy to go handle that, please? Thank you.
Go ahead, Drew. Just speak a little louder if you don't mind.
So, can everyone in the back of the room hear me, at least? Okay, great. And commissioners? Okay, great. So we'll talk very quickly. I know there's a lot on this agenda, but we'll talk about who we are, what a data center is, the project at a glance, Project Delta. We'll talk about responsible development practices. We'll talk about the community benefits. We'll talk about the rezoning timeline and next steps. And then we'll end with closing comments. Included in that, we've brought experts from around the Southeast who specialize in different components of data center development to speak very specifically to some of the main components of this project. So who we are. We're the developer ELS. You met Tuggle Duggins before. We brought our civil, acoustics, cultural, MEP, and permitting technical engineering team to be here tonight. Our vision is very simple, and it's why I started ELS. We want to build a better future, and a better future that's done responsibly. Excellence is our standard, and we're including a lot of different components to this project that basically ensure that the concerns that residents have are being met. And what I fear is that many of the concerns that they have, they're not aware of all the conditions that we've included in this rezoning to mitigate some of those negative externalities. And we'll talk more about that. So this is our team, and this is what we do. We entitle land, we secure power, we work with best-in-class civil and other technical experts to make sure that infrastructure is ready for these projects. We then work with our end-user partners. There's only so many companies that occupy these buildings. And then we repeat. We do this for them all over the Southeast and all over the country. This is currently where we're doing business right now. So what is a data center? Data centers are the cloud, and right now the cloud is becoming more and more of our lives. From online banking and cell phones to pictures of our grandkids, kids, and friends and family, social media, AI, small business, remote work, remote learning, streaming, medical records, and online education. The digital world lives in data centers. And what we're trying to do is create more infrastructure to support our digital lives. There are over 100 data centers in North Carolina, all over the state, and our lives go on just fine. The way that it works is your phone or laptop connects through Wi-Fi to local networks, through a fiber network to a data center, to a server, to access the information that you want. Netflix, Zoom, your credit card statements or your bank statements, when you go online shopping, or when you go on Facebook to talk to friends and neighbors. That's all done on a data center. It's not only that we are all using this, but there's an entire industry around the digital infrastructure. There's $3.5 trillion being spent in the United States on digital infrastructure 2017 through 2023, and it's largely because the average person in the United States right now has 21 connected devices. That sounds like a lot, but as you think about it, think about your home and all the different things that connect to Wi-Fi and ultimately a data center. There are many jobs, there are many families that depend on this industry, and you'll hear from some tonight. But this is also bigger than just the United States. This is a global issue. Right now, the United States and China are competing for global dominance in compute. Compute to store data, compute to process data, and compute to predict data. And it is really important that the United States stay front runner in this process. And China is absolutely building as much as they can. So here's an article from the Wall Street Journal, November 10th, 2025, where this Cold War is described. Again, in December, from Fortune, NVIDIA CEO says China is building things in weeks when it takes us years. We are falling behind, and it is a big issue. And what our company is doing is trying to be on the front lines of this, bringing this critical infrastructure to the United States. So the Project Delta at a glance. So again, Project Delta is located in blue, if you can see the screen. The combination of people, land, power infrastructure, and fiber connectivity are what make Project Delta unique. It's 1,844 acres, and we'll talk about how that's used. Multiple points of access, fiber connectivities, and buffers, and we'll supplement the buffers, and we'll talk about that later. The site is currently surrounded by different manufacturing uses, M1 and M2, as well as Duke Energy to the south, which is one of the largest power generation plants in Duke Energy's territory. This is the site again. So there's been a great deal of confusion about what we are developing in Project Delta and what we are not. And I want to be very clear with this group and for all that can hear me. The project is 1,844, that's a typo on my part, and there's about 850 acres of floodplain, bringing the buildable to 994 acres. We are not developing in the floodplain, which is shown in the cross-hatched area to the right, along the Dan River. So to be very clear, we are not developing the Dan River, we are not developing the floodplain, full stop. This is a conceptual plan. As you can see, the project really lays out into south of 311 and north of 311. So again, there's a considerable amount of floodplain on this project. All of this will be zoned for M2, which is a conditional zone, well, M2 conditional, which is a narrow and specific use for data centers only. If we do not build a data center, we cannot turn around and build another heavy manufacturing use. This is only for data centers. We want to be very clear about that as well. There's been some miscommunication about that. I'd also just point to the audience, that QR code has a link to an FAQ. And if you do want to grab the FAQ QR code, there's a lot of other questions that are answered on the FAQ page. So I'll leave that for just a minute. Yeah. Work? And if you can't see the FAQ, the website is www.projectdeltanc.com. M1 versus M2, there's been some questions about this. We're going for M2 because that is where historically wireless and telecommunications in the 1990s went under this use, and now data centers are going under M2. So this is an administrative zoning, and we can only do data centers with this zoning. So talking about just the text amendment and how we got here, but it all sits under M2. This is a great visual for explaining how this works. Again, we're going for a data center use. We're not allowed to do other permitted uses under M2. This is narrowly confined to data centers only. I think that's very important. So there's no surprises down the road. We've also, and I hope that you've been furnished with these development standards and trust that you have, but we've worked hard over the last several months to come up with written conditions that accompany our M2 conditional zoning that are very specific in what is allowed and what is not. And we'll unpack that as we keep going. This is an illustrative rendering from 311. This is another illustrative rendering from 311. We're committing to 100-foot buffers with full landscape planting throughout, around the entire perimeter of the project. So why are we here? Just to summarize it, there is a growing digital economy, and Stokes County is home to significant power infrastructure and has the land directly adjacent to it to support this. And with these conditions, I think that can be done very responsibly. Power strategy, there's going to be on-site generators for both backup power and for generation. The long-term goal is to get grid power from Duke. That's the least expensive power you can get. It makes the most sense. And we want to get to Duke Energy's power. But in the near term, there's a bridge for power. Generators will be used on site. We prefer nat gas. This is how we'll be delivering. A lot of work, thousands of hours have been spent by our whole team coming up with how this all comes together. And Blues Creek already has a nat gas line to it, which will be extended to the project. Small modular reactors are a thing. People are saying, hey, they're not. But the reality is Duke Energy's already filed for their small SMR, small modular reactors, and they want to put them next door. So Duke Energy has submitted, as I said here, and electric rate impacts for Project Delta. So this is really important, and I just want to make sure we all hear this. People are very concerned that data centers will drive up power rates. Data centers keep power rates affordable and going up a lot less than if it were just no data centers at all. Because when you have a giant data center that is paying a very large amount per year, they shoulder a considerable amount of the fixed cost that it takes to run our grid. There is a lot. So with the Winston-Salem Journal on January 9th ran this quote from Duke Energy, which says, large load customers help lower the cost for all customers by spreading fixed service expenses across a broader customer base. Also, to protect residential customers, our contracts with large load customers such as data centers include provisions that require these facilities to pay the full cost associated with delivering service to their sites. They more than cover their cost. And there is a lot of information trying to make these the bad guys, but the reality is this is what keeps life affordable on the power side for the next generation to come, is having large infrastructure that can bear the cost. And then the Wall Street Journal on Christmas Day ran a similar piece that data centers help keep prices lower. So this is a message that needs to get out there that most people just do not understand yet, but it is so important, and it's really important for Project Delta. Even more headlines have been run. People are trying to get the message out. This is really important that curtailment and just the general structures of the contracts with data centers help make power affordable for residents. And also data centers with curtailment means if they have to shut off power, the data centers get shut off first, not residents. I think that's very important. The Duke Energy rate approval process is also a key consideration here. When Duke Energy goes to the North Carolina Utilities Commission, if they want to ask for a rate increase, there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not just data centers. It's reliability. It's affordability. It's clean energy transition. It's residential growth. It's commercial growth, manufacturing, and data centers. And it's weather events like Helene. So there's a lot that goes into these rates. And so when they go up, they are going up, but they're for a number of reasons, and it's to make our grid more reliable, cleaner, more resilient. So there's a number of responsible development practices that I'd like to outline, and there's a number of experts in the room who will kind of come up here and speak. But we want to make sure that you all understand a lot has gone into this. And there's a lot of people concerned, and we have heard them, and we have made a lot of considerations, which are in writing, but we want to be very clear. So I'll have some of these experts speak. So the first thing before Rob comes up is we have limited our noise levels to 70 dBA. 70 dBA is quieter than me speaking through this microphone. It is the equivalent of speaking at your dinner table. And Rob can talk more about it. But data centers are much quieter than a number of common sounds that we hear in our daily life. There's an existing noise ordinance which we will fully comply with. And so I'll let Rob talk a little bit, but according to his study, the on-site, as is, measures between 65 and 71 dBA. That's a full study done by a third-party group. Rob has acoustical experience that covers a number of different industries, including data centers, and he is an expert in the field. And so I'll have him speak on this next slide and expand upon the report that he did for this specific site. So Rob?
Yep. Hi, I'm Rob Miller. I'm the principal acoustician at Polysonics out of Warrenton, Virginia. We took noise measurements at the site in November, placed 7 or 8 meters, 1 meter failed. We presented 7 meters data to ELS. There's a number of ways you can boil down a day's long worth of information, 24-hour measurement. There are measurements, I believe, on the next page. And these represent the daytime average levels looking across hourly, but this was representative of what the levels were at each location that we measured, that I believe are 7. This is a slide showing from the Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, adding context to what noise levels are safe. There's a delineation there between 70 and 75. Once you get up into 85 and 90, that's the OSHA territory where there's occupational hazards, but ELS has set the level, and represented by this institute there at the threshold between 70 to 75. And do you want to speak to this one more?
So after Rob's team completed their work on Project Delta, we measured sound between 64 and 71 dBAs. And so what are we going to do? We're going to limit the upper limit of the noise to 70. That's within what we observed. And there have been 0 noise complaints in the last 5+ years.
Put the sign down.
In the last 5 years about noise in this range. And so what we're committing is that there is no louder noise out there than it is today. And that seems to work for everyone now, and we're going to commit to that happening going forward. Further, we went around and measured several data centers around North Carolina, Google, Apple, Meta, and T5, where Disney and AT&T are housed, and the noise readings were in the 50s and 40s. So these are quiet by design, good neighbors, and we have to get that message out there. Site planning, buffers, and landscaping. I'll ask Scott Green to come up. Scott has is doing probably more data centers than anyone across the Southeast, and has a lot of experience in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, but North Carolina specifically. And Scott, if you want to speak about the buffers and the site plan.
Hey, good evening. Scott Green with Thomas & Hutton. I'm a principal with the firm. We're a civil engineering, surveying, and landscape architecture firm. Do a lot of work in the data center industry. We've got offices in Charlotte and the Durham area. I think you guys can see from this presentation, we took a lot of the comments we got from Planning Commission, from neighbors and residents. We took that into account in some of the site planning, landscaping, and lighting conditions that I'll be speaking on. One of the major things we heard is from an access standpoint that all our primary accesses would be off of 311 and Old Town Road, and not to have any primary accesses off of Tuggle. There could, of course, be emergency accesses off of that. We work closely with county staff to make sure that the site was accessed appropriately for emergency crews. From a landscaping standpoint, the 100-foot buffer, increasing that from the original 50 feet, we thought was very important. We would like to keep the existing landscaping in place as much as possible where there is no landscaping. We can add supplemental planting, we can add berming, we can add native vegetation to enhance that landscaping buffer to provide that visual screening of the site from the public right-of-way view. On the slide previous one, I'll just mention there was a list of native species that we'll be choosing. There's many native species as part of North Carolina. We'll be using native species to make sure that they can be grown sustainably and with the the easiest possible growing scenarios. This rendering is a view of what one version of this 100-foot buffer could look like. There's a layering of planted species, from shrubs to grasses to understory, overstory trees, mixed in with native landscape to help provide that visual buffer on the site from the public right-of-way. From a lighting standpoint, the site will be using full cutoff fixtures to focus on downlighting. That lighting will help reduce or eliminate light trespass. This graphic I have here, in the green area is the light that will be focused on the site, focused down into the site, so it is not going beyond the sites of the property boundary. This is a illustrative of the site plan and also of lighting and what the lighting condition will look like on the site. So you can see street lights, You can see lights on the building for security purposes. All the lighting on this facility will be for for security and facility use standpoint for emergency crews that may be responding to the site and the facility itself. This will be a 24-hour day facility. Another visual close-in of what those cutoff lights will look like, and just kind of a visual representation of what overall site lighting will look like. Again, like Drew mentioned, we work on many of these sites, and this is a realistic visual of the lighting. Going back one more slide, Drew. So from a cutoff standpoint, here are some different examples of some lighting shields that can be used to ensure the lighting is pointed in the direction that is intended for campus security and use. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Now we'd like to talk about air and water quality protections. This is really important for this project. I'd ask Jennifer to come up. Jennifer is a distinguished member of several societies around North Carolina and is extremely impressive, experienced, and has a lot of experience preserving wetlands and working on permits with North Carolina and federal agencies. And she's really talented, and I'll have her speak about a couple slides.
Jennifer Robertson, principal at Atlas Environmental. And so as far as this project moving forward, there will be multiple different federal permit approvals that are necessary, multiple different state permit approvals that are necessary, and we will be managing all of that work, including an air quality permit that will be necessary as well. Air quality. And so some of the studies that we will be doing out here is a stream, we'll be mapping all the streams and all the wetlands, any ponds that are present on site. We will be doing endangered species surveys, and if impacts to any of those streams and wetlands are necessary, we will be going through the proper permitting processes for that and dealing with all the different agencies on those permitting processes.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I'd ask Kent to come up. One of the commitments in our development standards is to use a closed loop system. Kent is working on these around the country, and so I'd want Kent to speak about this for a little bit. Kent?
Kent Bowen, senior engineer for CMMC. So at all our data centers, we use closed loop systems. So we use air cooled chillers. We use, there's water cooled chillers, which is where I think the misconception comes through, where it uses evaporation to cool the water. We're using air. So we use compressors to heat up the air above ambient temperature, and then fans to blows air across the pipe to cool the air and reject the heat, and then it goes back into the system where we can cool our systems and cool the air in the room. So once the loop is filled up, it's fully enclosed, and we're not using water from the county or from the city.
Thank you, Kent. And so I'd like to be clear on that. We fill up this closed loop system one time and reuse it. We are not pulling water from the Dan River or from the county for the purposes of cooling. Some data centers in the past get a bad rap for using millions of gallons a day. And part of this rezoning is being very clear that we are using a closed loop system that we fill up one time. Whether we fill it up with municipal water or truck it in, the means and methods really don't matter. We will fill it up one time, cap it, and keep using it to operate this safely, responsibly. This is a huge environmental benefit to the project, and it runs with the land. It's in the conditions that are in front of you. We also will work with Stokes County Water to get 50 to 100,000 gallons per day for sewer and for watering the landscape buffer that we were putting around this project. So that's really important, and we'll pay for 100% of those upgrades ourselves. We are not asking other people to pay. We will be paying for it. They may benefit because there are people nearby that may want to be on municipal water, but we will pay for 100% of these and bring it to the project. And this is a will serve letter from Stokes County saying if we pay for 100% that there is the availability of water to serve, which I think is important. And now to talk about cultural resources, I'd ask Sean to come up. Sean has a background in archaeology, history, and architectural history, and has studied this site extensively. And so there are a number of things to talk about as it relates to culturally sensitive areas that we have prioritized, studied. And so Sean, I'd ask you to come up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sean Patch. I am an archaeologist with New South Associates in Greensboro, North Carolina. As Drew said, we have conducted some previous assessments of this area, and we're currently assisting ELS with consideration of archaeological sites and historic properties. That includes above ground resources as well. Drew, can you hit the next slide, please? I just want to point out a couple of things at this high level phase, because we have not completed detailed analyses yet. But at this stage, as of today, the known archaeological sites that are significant, that's an important term, those that have been determined eligible for the National Register are located in the floodplain, and those sites are being avoided. It's likely that as part of the federal permitting process that there will be additional archaeological studies that will be necessary, and ELS is 100% committed to following any state and federal regulations to make sure that archaeology and historic resources are considered as part of the development process.
Thank you, Sean. There have been a number of questions about timeline and next steps, and so we'll hit on these briefly. But the goal is to rezone, now and move forward through to engineering, which takes a year to 2 years, and then begin site prep, and then phase 1 of the vertical, and then phase 2. So with this rezoning, there will not be shovels in the ground tomorrow. This is the beginning of a conversation, and my commitment is, and I've made my email available to everyone, my phone number available to everyone. For all the people that speak, for all the people that are interested, we have a listserv. My commitment is to continue to engage with the community to make sure that this is something that works and is done responsibly. And all of the development standards that we're putting in here are very responsible development practices. This does not happen overnight. It takes a considerable amount of time, and we have to work with the county on site planning, which is really important. Community benefits. Okay, so that's how we manage all the negative externalities that people are concerned with, but ultimately we're trying to do that responsibly. The benefits are really strong here with Project Delta. So local jobs and career creation. This is what puts food on the table for families. If you look around North Carolina, there is a track record of data centers delivering jobs. Not 25 jobs, not 50, but hundreds of jobs. Project Delta will do the same. We're estimating 250 to 500 jobs. In addition to those 250 to 500 on-site jobs for Project Delta, we're estimating over 1,000 construction jobs for the several years of construction. So there's a lot of different trades that benefit, but think electricians, plumbers, HVAC specialists, grading, restaurants, local businesses. I've had a number of local business owners approach me saying, here's my card, please make sure we get work, because they're looking for ways to grow their business. This is not just a vote for one project, this supports an ecosystem of businesses in Stokes County. There's a ripple effect. Additionally, there's permanent jobs. These are not just any old jobs, these are very high paying jobs, all over, on average, over $100,000. So we included some samples. This isn't just us making up with averages. We're being very clear. There's operations, there's facilities and mechanical, there's management, and there's network delivery. These are the jobs of the future. This is what people are doing to work on digital infrastructure to enable our lives today. And by bringing these jobs with Project Delta, we're bringing great jobs into Stokes County. More proof of just a thriving economy. There's so many job openings with multiple of our partners, and these are specific ones. These are active job postings of high wage jobs that we can bring to Stokes County. The local impact benefits for Stokes County in more detail. So right now, the property as it stands produces $7,833 a year in taxes per year between all three parcels. With this project, at 50% build out, it's $20 million a year, and at 100% build out, it's $40 million per year. That's over 5,000 times what it currently has in tax revenue today. This allows for the funding of schools, for public infrastructure, for parks and rec, for police, fire, and EMS that make life safe for residents, for arts and culture. Schools and education. There's been a number of schools that have closed recently and scheduled another in 2030. This enables the education for the future generation in Stokes County. Public infrastructure, roads and improvements, internet access via additional fiber. People say, will this make my internet better? Yes, this brings more fiber. Better trash and recycling, public water and sewer infrastructure, we're paying 100% of it. And improving power reliability in the area. We've talked about curtailment. We've talked about our investment of spending 100% of the cost for improving the transmission infrastructure that has benefits to everyone in this part of the county. Parks and recreation. The ability to create dedicated parks and rec departments off-site, not even including on the floodplain that we have, which is 45% of our project. So the ability to create an active ecosystem where people can walk and be outside in safe, curated environments. And then fire, police, and EMS. Faster emergency response time, better coverage across the county, and professional, well-trained public safety officers across the board. Tax revenue creates the opportunity to make living safe for all. What old or young, this creates the ability. So $40 million a year of projected new annual tax revenue if taxed according to how data centers are taxed at 100% build out. So if you look at the budget today, the budget's $74.9 million is what comes in. $38 million comes from residents and businesses. So you could, in effect, lower taxes across the board and still continue to operate this with just Project Delta. This is how it's spent. And so the question really for the group is, with all of the budget that you currently have of 74.9, adding $40 million a year equals what? My job, and I'm in the business of creating economic development that supports, that can be taxed by you guys, and the decision y'all make is how it's spent responsibly in the community. And there's many ways, from schools, parks and rec, police and fire, infrastructure, and arts and culture, that make daily life better and safer, and for Stokes County residents today and in the future. So rezoning timeline and next steps. We put out a number of we had a PIM meeting, and we put out signs. We sent letters to landowners, and they were all certified. We know that they all got there. And we made a website, projectdeltanc.com. We spoke to everyone in November. We had over 50 attendees. 36 plus emails were provided to us. Everyone has the personal cell phone that's in my pocket, and they have my personal email. And people don't really reach out that much. They don't want to talk about this, but we're trying to listen anyways and come up with conditions that take into their views and make it responsible. And I really believe that, and I'm willing to sign on the dotted line for that this is being done responsibly. Here we are on this timeline. And so, just closing comments. I just want to be really clear about what this is, because there is so much misinformation that people are saying a lot of things, and I've gone down the hallways and talked to people and shooken hands, and they go, I heard differently. And so I want to correct the record. Power reliability. We will fund 100% of our transmission upgrades, full stop. Water and cooling, we will use a 100% closed loop system. That is a very responsible way to go about cooling data centers. Noise, we're no louder than what's already out there. Eric has received no noise complaints and could not find any. I've looked. There's been no noise complaints about the existing sound. We're committing to not going any louder with our 70 dBA limit. Lighting will be compliant, downward facing, responsible. A height not to exceed 80 feet, which is just 2 stories with generous setbacks and buffers, which will be fully landscaped. Usually people just go 100 feet, don't plant anything. We're coming back through and planting with native trees everywhere to make sure that this is done as responsibly and well buffered as possible. Safety, we've already given a fire coordination letter to the chief, and we've outlined every step from today to final certificate of occupancy of the final building to make sure that every step is coordinated. Traffic, we'll complete a TIA, and ultimately we will deliver on this $40 million a year that is coming from the developer for the benefit of Stokes County. So to be very clear, there's a petition going around that people are saying certain things about this project, and I want to clarify the record for this group. So the first question is about Stokes County Planning Board, and we talk about how it does not consider the $40 million a year or the jobs. The second is this is not well defined in local zoning, and we're saying these conditions are explicit, and they run with, and they're among the most responsible conditions of all the projects I've done. This is being done with very enforceable conditions to ensure responsible development. 100% of all known cultural significant areas are in the floodplain, and those will not be developed. If we do find others, we follow the laws and we do what is right and what is responsible. And I've collected phone numbers from some of the groups that will speak tonight to make sure that we're coordinated. We are not developing the Dan River. There's been people saying that we are. We will not be touching the Dan River. People talk about jobs. We're not just bringing 25 jobs, we're bringing 250 to 500 jobs, and we're paying for our infrastructure to do this. And then power rates, Duke Energy has publicly stated that data centers help keep it affordable for residents, not the other way around. That is really important. And then the last thing, whether it's future land use maps or others, the site is surrounded by M1 and M2 land uses and directly adjacent to Blues Creek, which is Duke Energy's steam station. So just to illustrate this, and we'll be done, before and after. The before, it currently is 64 to 71 dBAs. After, it's within that limit. Before, there's a floodplain area that's a farm. After, it looks identical. We are not developing the floodplain. The view currently versus the view as we improve it with landscape buffers. The tax revenue, $7,833 versus $40 million. And I'll remind you, this is 0.3% of Stokes County's land. And it equals all of the land that's being taxed combined. And so this map, to me, is what drives home and makes me confident that this is the responsible choice. This site is surrounded by M1 and M2, Duke Energy, and other industrial type uses. We are sandwiched in the middle. And with the buffers we're describing, I believe that's responsible. Not only that, but with the conditions that we've put in writing that are enforceable by you all, this is a very safe, responsible way to go about creating digital infrastructure, creating economic development in Stokes County that benefits both this generation and generations to come. Thank you. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them as well.
Just got a couple right quick. Go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. On that closed loop system, you said you load it one time with water. Does that water ever have to come out and be put in with a new set of water or new replacement water?
Sir, we will we'll make sure that water is treated so no bacteria grow in it, and we'll continue to use that water really in perpetuity. Water, we're not drinking it. It's not meant to be potable for people, but it's meant to be just safe, clean water that we can run and reuse repeatedly. Periodically, we will top it off as we test it to make sure that it's, everything that we need it to be, but we're going to fill it up one time and be done. That's it, and that lasts for decades.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The a couple more real quick ones. The landscape guy, just a kind of, it sounds like you're kind of flexible about what you're going to do, and I would like for you to be extremely flexible with the folks that are closest to this place. And to me, there's some folks up on Tuttle Road, a little trucking company up there right in that vicinity. And then Old Town, of course, are I think probably the next closest. If you go east on from Tuttle Road, 311, you don't really run into much houses or anything, but I would just like you guys to be extremely flexible about addressing anything unexpected that comes up, especially it relates to the folks that are real close in there, the closest ones to it.
Well, and as I think most are aware, our original buffers were 50 and we doubled them to be 100. And then in addition to buffers, we also committed to a full landscaping plan. So that means we go back in and plant so that this is as well buffered to be responsible neighbors with and live, next to others. That's important.
I'm just kind of thinking if you discover something you didn't expect, just be flexible to make whatever adjustments you need to, especially for those folks that are closest.
You bet. Absolutely. And, my email and phone number on our website, and people can reach out too, but we'll reach out to make sure everyone's good.
I got something. Going back to what we were talking about the culturally sensitive areas and what we know exists there and what might be discovered later. So the land that the sites that you are aware of that are there are in that floodplain. And if I understood you correctly, you're saying that 844 acres is basically going to be in a conservancy that will protect it from future development as well?
Correct. So the first part of your question, 100% of the areas that we've identified that meet the threshold that Sean described are in the floodplain, and we are not touching it. Separately, Section 93 of the zoning ordinance would allow us to develop in the floodplain. We are not, though, because we're going to do Section 92. We're doing our M2 use for data centers specifically. We are not allowed to develop in the floodplain at all. So this will conserve in perpetuity all of those areas along the banks of the Dan River and in the floodplain. We are not developing. I want to be very clear about that.
And also, maybe you can speak to this. In other areas, one of the things that, people that are talking about this are saying is that, these jobs that you talk about, that they're not going to go to Stokes County people, that these companies bring in their own workforce or whatnot. And in your experience or in your knowledge of other data centers, has that been the case, or is it the case that more than likely, I know that when JetBlue came to Guilford County, that they worked with Guilford Tech to develop programs and classes to train workers for specific jobs at those places. So is it your thought that we have a community college here in Stokes that is underutilized, for one thing, and it's, through Forsyth Tech? So would it be in your knowledge of how things have been done in other places that they work with community college to train workers specifically for the jobs that would be available?
Yes. And further, we have reached out to Forsyth Tech and to Stokes County school systems to begin the conversations of trying to create a curriculum that begins training for these specific jobs so that they can be local. Some of these are technical jobs that need training, but if we can create the training programs locally, that is the best way to do it, and we are already working on that.
That's all I've got right now.
I got a few comments. First of all, I want to apologize. That's not Stokes County. A lot of y'all's information y'all got, I don't know where it's coming from, but it's not coming from Stokes County. When I was working, I furnished a lot of data centers. I think Wayne went to one. The one in the Cloud off 321 in Maiden. Unbelievable. You wouldn't even know it was there. Yes, they bring in top-notch contractors out of state because they don't want everybody doing these. The security on these things are unbelievable. A lot of the "yes, we want this" emails I got were young people from this county. Finally, I can get a job in Stokes County. So y'all need to wake up, people. This is a golden opportunity. So y'all know where I stand.
Mr. Chairman.
So when you talk noise level, I know you want to meet the noise level, but what's it sound like?
It's quieter than a table conversation. So sitting around your dinner table, it's quieter than that. 70 dBAs is happening right now out there, and it's happening all over. And when I say out there, I mean at the project, not outside this building. And so it's when you're sitting down with your family over dinner, you're exceeding 70 dBA. And those sounds happen organically out there all the time. And what we're committing is we're going to have a hard stop at 70, even though we observed 71. So that's our hard stop. Everyone, the track record shows everyone is okay with 70 dBA because no one's calling staff complaining about it, and it's a vacant piece of parcel. And so if we can commit to being as quiet as a vacant piece of parcel or quieter, to me, I've done my job.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Well, I went and looked at some data centers. I've done this on my own. I've looked at several. Don't know if your guys had anything to do with the buffer up in Catawba County, but I will have to admit that the only way that I found one part of it was through a black gate. I just happened to see through the gate. I couldn't see anything else.
And you didn't get through the gate either,
Oh,
did you?
no, that's as far as I got. I didn't get no further than that. But I don't know who done the buffer on that, but they done an outstanding job with it. You cannot see it nowhere from the road except through that one gate. That's
Yeah.
all I got. Listen.
And can I make one more comment, if that's all? I know there's a long list of public speakers out here, and I'm sitting over here. Whether it's via the sign-in sheet or the website, my contact information is fully available. It's been fully available this whole time. My personal cell phone number is out there too. That's the phone in my pocket. To the extent people have questions or want to talk about this, I would love to have that conversation. We have put as much information out there as we can. Everyone has my email. People don't reach out as much as I'd hope, but we have gotten a lot of good phone calls, had some productive ones we disagree, and plenty that we agree with. But as others that may not be familiar faces or may not know me, please reach out. It is really important, both as our country, to make sure that we are having good dialogue, but also just to be good neighbors as a developer. That's really important to me. So, thank you.
Peter. Yeah.
So the request is by applicant DFC Stokes LLC, DFC Stokes 2 LLC to rezone approximately the 1,000 acres plus or minus from residential RA to heavy manufacturing conditional zoning M2CZ at US 311 and Tuttle Road and US 311 Coon Joyce Road, listed as Stokes County parcels 696-491, 832-1, 6973-767124, 6973-734188, and 6973-490-574. The request is to build a data center with the following conditions, and every one of you have the conditions in front of you, correct? Okay. So the first condition would be permitted uses shall be limited to data center and all accessory, ancillary, supportive, or functionally related uses, facilities, and technologies, including but not limited to power generation, substations, electrical transmission infrastructure, natural gas infrastructure, battery backup, generation equipment, equipment yards, diesel and natural gas generation, batteries, security guard checkpoints, on-site maintenance facilities, container storage, and fuel storage. Number 2, the project shall utilize a closed-loop cooling system as its primary method of cooling, ensuring efficient water use. Number 3, all buildings shall have a setback a minimum of 100 feet from the perimeter of the site. The aforementioned setback shall be maintained as a vegetative buffer, which may include existing vegetation, supplemental plantings, or a combination thereof. Number 4, maximum building height shall be 80 feet. Number 5, sound generated by permitted uses shall be limited to a maximum of 7 dB along the boundary parameter of the property. Power generation facilities shall be concentrated within the center portion of development, with no such equipment permitted within 300 feet of the developer's outer boundary. Number 7, primary vehicular access to the site shall be provided from US 311 and Old Town Road. Secondary vehicular access, including emergency and utility access, may be provided from Tuttle Road and other locations as required by local, state, federal laws, ordinances, and regulations. Moving forward on the site information, originally proposed was approximately 1,844 plus or minus acres, but excluding the 800 plus or minus acres from the flood zone, ELS has agreed to the acreage to be rezoned to approximately 1,000 acres, or to be exact, you had a number earlier. 1,000. We'll just say 1,000. Okay, so we're looking at 1,000 acres that's changed as the proposal. The proposed district is M2CZ. It will not be located in the flood zone area, and of course it'll be in the Sartown township.
Before we move on, just for clarification purposes, I was under the impression that the intent was to still rezone the entire 1,800 plus acres, but the flood zone would be protected.
Now, are we eliminating the flood zone altogether from?
No, Jeff's right. This is the way that it's considered. It has to be included.
It has to be included in that. Okay.
And that protects the flood zone from any future development.
So what we're looking at is no development whatsoever in the flood zone, but it is a part of the. Yeah, if you would. Yeah.
I do want to be clear about this. 1,844 acres is being zoned to M2 conditional zoning. We are not developing, and that's all under Section 92 of the zoning ordinance. Section 93 is floodplain, which allows for floodplain zoning. By rezoning under Section 92, this means Section 93 does not apply. So applying an M2 conditional designation to all of this floodplain ensures in perpetuity that that land will not be developed. Thank you.
Moving on to the consistency with the 2035 land use plan. Having researched this, the request seems to be consistent with the Stokes County 2035 land use plan, which supports targeted economic development that strengthens the county's tax base, diversification of local industry with technology and infrastructure oriented sectors, strategic placement of major non-residential uses in areas where utility capacity can be expanded, protection of rural character through buffering, height limits, and context-sensitive design, low-intensity, high-value employment opportunities with minimal environmental and traffic impacts. The proposal advances those objectives by consolidating a major high-tech facility in a location where impacts can be effectively internalized. The project integrates noise limits, internalization of power generation infrastructure, height controls, and perimeter protections. The data center is inherently low traffic, produces no manufacturing emissions, and creates significant long-term economic benefit. Overall, the request aligns with the 2035 plan goals for economic resilience, infrastructure modernization, and responsible land use management. Moving on to the reasonableness statement, it is reasonable and in the public interest to approve this rezoning request. The petitioner has provided development standards that clearly mitigate potential impacts through perimeter buffers, performance-based noise limits, and internal placement of high-intensity equipment. The project represents a low-impact, high-value economic development opportunity, generating substantial tax revenue, construction phase jobs, and long-term utility reliability improvements. Its low daily traffic, minimal public interaction, and limited environmental impact make it a suitable and responsible transition from the current RA designation. Given the project's alignment with the 2035 land use plan, its limited community impact, and its significant economic and infrastructure benefits, rezoning is considered reasonable and in the best interest of Stokes County. Staff finds the request consistent with the long-range planning goals, appropriate for conditional zoning, and significantly mitigated to protect surrounding rural areas.
It will move to public hearing at this time.
I'm going to read the procedure that was posted for the public hearing. Due to the anticipated large turnout, the following rules will govern the hearing to ensure fairness and efficiency. Time allocation, the public hearing period will be limited to 1 hour. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to speak. Individuals who signed up to speak at the previous meeting but did not have opportunity to speak will be called first. After that list is exhausted, others who have signed up will be called. Those who spoke at the previous meeting will only be allowed to speak again if time permits after all others have spoken. If you're in the third floor conference room, there's a staff member up there who will assist in keeping order and let you know when you can go downstairs to speak. You can line up outside the door here and wait for your name to be called. Speakers may not yield time to another individual. Groups are encouraged to select a spokesperson to avoid repetitive testimony. All limitations will be applied equitably to every speaker. Additionally, all speakers shall maintain good decorum and show respect and good manners. Vulgar language, profanity, inappropriate gestures, insults, personal attacks, accusations, and inflammatory language is prohibited. The chairman of the board will enforce these rules, and anyone not complying with these rules shall not be allowed to continue. I'm going to read out names and then read the name that will be behind it, just so everyone will know who the person is next to speak, so they're ready. The first speaker I had from the last meeting was Caroline Armijo, and behind her was Kim DeVoe.
Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Caroline Rutledge Armijo. I live at 1119 Hill Street in Greensboro. I work for Rutledge and Walnut Cove, and I grew up in Friendship. I wanted to point out that Walnut Cove is a nationally recognized environmental justice site. That slide was skipped today. I also want to point out that when Mr. Nations was speaking on the microphone, the level was at 65 where I was seated in the back, and when Ms. Jessup spoke, she was at 47. So 70 is pretty loud for a 24 hours a day for several years, which was stated in the slides. I also wanted to ask that you deny both of these rulings. I presented a map of the current M2 land in Stokes County. The text amendment adds data centers to section 92.1 usage. So all M2 zones in Stokes County can develop a data center without further permission from the local, state, or federal government. Denying this vote is our only chance to protect our communities already Zone 2. This includes Danbury, Sandy Ridge, Lawsonville, Asbury, King, Meadows, Friendship, Pine Hall, and Walnut Cove. We also want you to vote no on rezoning the Upper Sorrowtown M2 hazardous industrial. The large map that I presented you with shows the buffer zone of the health impacts of 2.5 miles. I presented a study that was used by the Navy the last time I came, And it says on there that the vibration from the server rack shaking reach up to 4.5 miles away from the data center, and these vibrations travel through buildings, hillsides, and bodies. So this decision will be felt by everyone on this map. In 2019, the state listened to us, Duke cleaned up the coal ash, and Walnut Cove flourished. I believe if you vote for the people, the same will happen here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim DeVoe, on deck, Sin Olafson.
Obviously, I'm not Kim DeVoe. She could not make it tonight. She's not here. I'm her husband. I'll be speaking on behalf of her. Thank you for your time. First, I would like to acknowledge the land we stand on right now, land of the Saur tribe. I would like to thank my relatives for coming here tonight, which many of you are in the hallway and outside. Thank you to our relatives for their efforts and dedication in ensuring our voices are heard and recognized. We are still here. My name is Kim DeVoe, Harris DeVoe. I am a Saur descendant and descendant of Goinstown. To the commissioner of this beautiful county we live in, I'm asking you as a resident and a Saur descendant, do not allow Project Delta to tear through our beloved communities. The destruction of this magnitude cannot be ignored. 1,800 plus acres of land and resources to be laid bare for betterment, and the virtual experience is not cost that should be passed tonight. You are hearing the voices of many from Walnut Cove that will be directly in the path telling you no. It is your job not only to listen, but to act with the cries, pleas, and rantings of those individuals. I stand with them. The destruction of the land will include Upper Sourtown, the sacred historical and cultural lands of the Saur tribe of Stokes and Rockingham counties. These are original people of this land, the original caretakers. The beauty we see today is an echo of their hands, telling our soil and protecting our waters. Upper Sourtown can never be replaced. To erase the significant historical origin to Stokes County is to erase their existence from history forever. Tonight, I ask you, look out around you. Do you see the ribbons? The ribbon skirts? Those ribbons are the veins of Saur tribe today. We are many, we are still here. We are here to remind you that Saur's breath is still here, thriving and growing. The Dan River is a sacred river. Those waters have fed and nourished the residents of Stokes County since time immemorial. We cannot allow this data center to take from our river, our waters. I feel it is worth reminding you.
Sir, we need to move on. I'm sorry, but 2 minutes was allowed. We need to move on to the next speaker.
You can't let me finish my last 4 sentences?
Yeah, wrap it up. We need to move on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Wildlife, our plants, our harvests, and our wells, caution of cancer and asthma are major concerns following the building of this data center. If there are questions and possibly causing harm to the community, why take that risk? Why would you consider allowing that harm to those in your community? I believe in our community. I believe that we can all go back to the drawing board, come up with better ways, and earn revenue to better all residents. This risk of harm is unethical to pass down to another. Thank you for your time. My prayers with all of you tonight. Make the right choice. No Project Data. That wasn't terrible.
Sin Olafson, on deck, Timmy Smith. She may not be here tonight. Sin Olafson. Okay.
My name is Cindy Hunt Olafson. I live at 181 Little Bridge Lane, 28627. I'm a councilwoman and citizen of the Eastern Cherokee and Southern Iroquois United Tribes. I'm an artist and historian whose family has deep roots in Stokes County. I speak on behalf of many relatives that are unable to be present. I also speak in support of my cousin Kim DeVoe, a resident of Stokes County who could not be here today. While I appreciate that there is a cultural expert speaking earlier on behalf of the company, there are several Native Americans from multiple tribes standing in that hallway that will not be allowed to speak. My ancestors and theirs lived on this land, are buried in its soil, and their stories are woven into the mountains and river valleys that define this place. I speak not only for my own ancestors, whose graves still rest in this land, but for yours as well. Every family in Stokes County has roots here. Your ancestors lived, worked, loved, and raised their children along these same mountains and rivers. They taught their children to fish these waters and to tend these fields and to respect the land that sustained them. As county commissioners, you hold a position that carries great responsibility, and I believe to serve in this role is to care deeply for the people and place you represent. Your own ancestors entrusted this land to future generations, and how fortunate they would feel to know that their descendant, you, now has the power to protect it. Stopping this data center is not only about honoring my history, it's about honoring yours. It's about safeguarding the land that shaped all of our families and securing a landscape that still reflects who you are as a community. You have the authority and the opportunity to choose the well-being of your people over outside interests. Corporate interests have never kept their promises and therefore mean nothing to me. For our ancestors and for all who will come after us, I ask you to stand with us to protect Stokes County. Regardless of what has already been decided behind closed doors, you now have one last chance to stand up for us all and be remembered for having done so. I request that you table this rezoning request and put it to public referendum, allowing the people of Stokes County to vote and be fairly heard without the private influence of Drew Nations, who has had hours of time to speak with you months before the public, who got 90 shared minutes, was even made aware of Project Delta. Thank you.
Timmy Smith. On deck, Brian Gamble.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Timmy Smith. I live at 1545 Old Town Road. I've built energy infrastructure for the past 15 years. I work for a Power 5 international oil and gas business, and I currently lead renewable natural gas projects across the U.S. I'd like to share why I feel this proposal falls short when measured against the county's 2035 vision plan and also the community's expectations. 70 dBA at the property line. That's the sound of a conversation, but also a vacuum cleaner running. How pleasant would this meeting be with a vacuum cleaner running day and night? I shared an email on December the 12th showing you what responsible development looks like. I sent that to all commissioners. ELS performed an ambient noise study. I challenged the methodology of that. You've got the ambient noise study. You've got a plot plan showing what the structures are. Those are inputs for sound modeling and a deliverable called a noise impact assessment. The model should estimate what the noise level is for every neighbor around this project. You should be able to tell them what it is at their doorstep. I would not vote without seeing this information, and I've seen most equipped zoning boards hold applicants to the ambient noise level or 55 dBA LDN. That's set by the Federal Energy and Regulatory Commission, whichever's lower. That's a 15 dBA swing. And just for comparison, if that 15 dBA swings to the high side, now we're talking about hearing protection in OSHA. For power, ELS didn't provide you a comprehensive power story. In my experience, approaching a zoning committee without a pinned down power solution finds applications dead on arrival. You don't just wish your way to power. I feel we need to answer these questions before approving a project of this scale. I want to see development for Stokes County. I'm in the business myself. But I want to see the right project selected, and I want to see rules and regulations in place so that when done, it's done responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Gamble. On deck, Leslie Bray Brewer.
Good evening. My name is Brian Gamble. I live over in Barwood Acres, which is adjacent to where they'll be, where they propose to be building. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about noise myself too. Typically, the noise that's generated associated with power with a data center. One, you have the power systems. These include transformers and substations that generate an electronic hum. They generate the typical between 65 and 75 dBs of noise near the equipment and can exceed 80 close to the equipment. You looking at cooling systems, high vac units, and air-cooled chillers. They produce tonal hums and vibrations. Typical noise levels 70 to 85 dB near chillers and 50 to 65 dBA at property boundaries. Environmental impact for these cover human health with disrupted sleep, elevated stress hormones, headaches and fatigue, wildlife. That interferes with the birds' communications, navigation, and breeding. And then we get into the low frequency audio dangers, which are typically not covered in any of these discussions. Their psychological effects, prolonged exposure to low frequency sound, that is 20 hertz to 200 hertz, can cause headache, fatigue, and increased stress and hormone levels. Sleep disruption, even at moderate levels. Low frequency hum interferes with deep sleep cycles. Cognitive impact. Studies link chronic exposure to reduce concentration and productivity. And then the necessary community complaints, and also the wildlife risk. Birds and marine species rely on low frequency signals for navigation and communications. These can interfere and disrupt breeding and migration patterns. And again, typically these low frequencies that I'm speaking of, they are not caught in a typical monitoring situation, which makes them even more large of a problem. And really, that's all I've got to say. If you need anything else, I can email you this document, which includes all the citations for the information.
Thank you.
Leslie Bray Brewer, on deck, Patty Dunlap.
This is just taxpayer information. It's not a no data center sign. I'm Leslie Bray Brewer, 108 Meadow Road, Danbury, but I grew up in Walnut Cove. I raised 5 kids there. I currently own property there and direct a nonprofit there. Even after I've heard all of this tonight, I still urge you to vote no for this proposed rezoning. I'm against the development at that treasured property, but I would at least urge you to put a moratorium on this for now, especially since I've just heard what Timmy Smith said. Having grown up in that southeastern corner of Stokes County, I noticed that our area was often targeted for the location of controversial industries, no doubt. Just going to tell you, because we were considered the poorer part of Stokes County, and we rarely have had any representation from our area on the board. So currently, the top 5 taxpayers in Stokes County are located over there in that southeastern corner. Duke Energy, Wheeling Copper, RJR Tobacco, Power Screen, and Parkdale. Why is it that one tiny area of our county must bear the biggest burden of bringing in revenue? We have done our part. Now I'm going to go deeper and tell you something that's unpopular perhaps, but I believe you are people of faith, and there's a spiritual level to this as well. An example is in 2018, when the town of Walnut Cove was considering annexing the Walnut Tree property. On paper, it looked as though they were going to lose revenue. But I prayed about it and felt to address the board and prophesy. If you do the right thing, if you listen to the people rather than to what it looks like on paper with revenue, that you're going to be blessed. You're going to find grants that come to you from places you didn't even expect. I stood up at public comments, spoke that to the board. They voted to annex against what it looked like for revenue, and everything I spoke came true. They are so blessed in Walnut Cove now. I believe the same blessings would happen for you, that doors would open miraculously. I'm a woman of faith. I believe that you have no idea would open. And I'm asking you, please listen to the people who live here more than to people who don't live here. And I'll close with this. I'm going to urge you to turn from the lure. I know it looks good. Turn from the lure of this revenue and listen to what the people have said to you. It could be a negative impact to us. Run for the stronghold and trust in God for a better way. Stokes County's not for sale. Thank you.
Patty Dunlap, on deck, Eric Turin.
I'm Patty Dunlap. I'm president of the Stokes County Historical Society. I live at 3270 Dodgetown Road in Walnut Cove. At 200 million years old, the Dan River was home to Native Americans predating the Saras. They lived along the banks of the Dan and her tributaries as early as 10,000 years ago. They weren't just on the river bottoms. They respected the land, hunting, fishing, farming, gathering carefully. With exposure to European explorers and no defense against European diseases, the Saras died in great numbers, and many are buried on this land. This remains a sacred Native American site. Then you had the enslaved brought to this land, not by choice. They lived, worked, and died on this property. Another sacred place with graves of the enslaved dating back to the 1700s, not in the bottomland. Many of our ancestors chose to stay here after emancipation. They live all around Walnut Cove and Pine Hall. There is a community just on the east side of the dam bordering this proposed site, an aging, racially diverse community, many whose ancestors were formerly enslaved, many in their 80s and 90s. They are very worried, and are their lives to be made miserable at this stage of their lives? Then you have settlers choosing to come down the Great Wagon Road, even before the Great Wagon Road, to live here by 1750. Many in this room descend from these settlers, roots planted here over 270 years ago. Why did they choose this place? Why did settlers' descendants choose to stay here or choose to come back here to live, work, raise their families? Why did some recent residents choose to move here? It was not for the prospect of a data center. Let's grow, but grow responsibly. Respect and protect the past, the environment, the beauty of Stokes County. Thank you.
Eric Turin. On deck, Michael Hartley.
Good evening. My name is Eric Turin, and I serve as the Chief Experience Officer for Spartan Critical Systems. We're a technology company headquartered in Bermuda Run, just up the road in Winston-Salem. We're a North Carolina-based minority-owned business focusing on helping communities and data center development teams design and build the most efficient, sustainable, and environmentally responsible data centers possible across the whole entire United States. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight about Project Delta and provide clarity about an important topic, which I've been talking to a lot of people here tonight about the closed loop water system, how it works, and what it actually means for your community. There have been a lot of concerns about water consumption. Unfortunately, a lot of that public conversation around data centers is shaped by outdated information, particularly from older air-cooled cooling technologies. Project Delta will use a closed-loop liquid system. This is a dramatically different approach than traditional air-cooled data centers that require large volumes of evaporated water to cool the chips. A closed-loop system does not continuously consume water. The loop is filled once. With proper maintenance and testing, the fluid remains in that system for 20, 25, 30 years. We've also heard concerns about what would happen if a water leak occurred in a facility this size, which is a understandable concern. So a closed loop system cools hundreds of millions of dollars of computer chips and servers. Because of this, these systems are engineered with exceptionally high levels of protection, including continuous leak protection sensors throughout the facility, automated alarms connected to 24/7 monitoring, automatic shut-off valves designed to isolate and contain any issues immediately. These features exist not only to protect the facility, but also because data centers cannot risk equipment damage. As a result, the likelihood of a leak is significantly low. So beyond water conservation and safety, liquid cooling brings several major advantages to the surrounding community. There are dramatically lower noise levels. Liquid cooling requires fewer larger fans and far less mechanical equipment. That means quieter operations both indoors and outdoors compared to traditional air-cooled systems. As Drew mentioned earlier, I believe this project is 71 dBA at the property line, which is...
Sir, can you wrap it up? We need to move on.
Yes, sir. So closed-loop systems use a lot less energy, which help with the carbon footprint. Longer equipment lifespan, which reduces electronic waste, and the systems are designed for future-proof design for scalability, modularity, to help not have a strain on resources in the future. Thank you.
Michael Hartley. On deck, Jason Durkin.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I am Michael Hartley, a resident of Stokes County. I have lived here on our land for 33 years. Rezoning this 1,844 acres M2 is wrong and contrary to the excellent 2035 comprehensive plan explicitly calling for protection of these lands along the Dan River. I've been a professional archaeologist for more than 50 years, and I know how significant this land is. UNC Chapel Hill excavations there revealed 4 palisaded villages dating from AD 800 and extending through Upper Saratown, ending at AD 1710, over 900 years. This was not a full examination of this land, either of the floodplain or the uplands. With the many hundreds of people who lived on this land and the known 200 burials still there, it is illogical to think that there's not more across this land. The care of this land should not be dependent on an M2 heavy industry. This place is an important source of identity for Stokes County. The burial of a 20-year-old woman recovered by archaeologists is now memorialized by a statue of Saratown woman on the front steps of the North Carolina Museum of History. The Saratown mountain range extends across the center of the county. South Stokes students are the Saras. This site, this location, is in Saratown Township. I strongly oppose the rezoning of this significant Stokes County land. And I think the application for any use of M2 heavy industry and the possibilities of what will happen based on this zoning down the way, no matter what fine promises are made about this proposed project. I think that's an improper application on this particular extremely significant land for this county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jason Duncan, up on deck. Chad Bailey.
My name is Jason Duncan. I live in Stokes County. My family is from Pine Hall, grew up there, so I know the area well. I taught at Pine Hall School for 31 years, and I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of proposed changes. Most of not which would not benefit the people of Pine Hall and Walnut Cove. I will share examples. Duke Power Steam Station was to supply much needed energy and a lake for recreation, but it created problems. Example, coal ash smoke from the plant when it opened, the ash was so acidic that when it landed on your car, it would burn the paint off of your car. That is most likely what caused us to have a higher cancer rate in the community. Scrubbers were put in to clean the smoke, only to direct the ash to a landfill, which contaminated the drinking water. The lake has so much selenium in it, they had to put up signs not to eat the fish. So now they're talking about adding a nuclear plant to our area. Let's pray they do a better job with that if this occurs. We had to meet with the county commissioners to stop a potential trash from New York City to be brought down on a railroad and put at the old pipe plant. The pipe plant is in a floodplain. We were successful fighting that. Then you wanted to put a chip mill on 311. This would have created noise, road destruction, and very few jobs. Another community-saving end for us when it didn't happen. Then you wanted to frack our area, which would have destroyed the water supply, the roads, the quality of life. We survived that challenge. You have taken our school, which will slow growth because parents want community schools. And here today, we want to put this massive data center that will have zero benefits for the community of Walnut Cove and Pine Hall. It will consume water, raise our electric bills, destroy our rich history. If you pass this project, we'll have to deal with poor roads, constant noise, likely loss of wells, deal with their water waste, their waste, and eventually find it does not, in fact, produce the jobs that they were promised. It'll be like living in the twilight zone. I encourage you to stick with the 2035 vision and economic development action plan for Stokes County. Move forward with positive growth for the local and loyal citizens of Stokes County.
Chad Bailey. On deck, Elijah Evans.
Good evening. My name is Chad Bailey. I'm Vice President of Stokes County Historical Society and also the President of the Walnut Cove Colored School. When I was looking at the map of burials, I saw the easiest one to find on the property wasn't identified. I'm a Harrison descendant. Peter Harrison is my 5th great grandfather, and I live in Baileytown, so I know the woods very well. I'd vote no on this data center. It costs a lot of times here lately. It's been a lot of headaches with them. I live very close. I don't want all them decibels at my house because we can hear them out there cheering. That's nowhere close to 70. So close as I am, I will hear it all. I'm representing all of Stokes County. I'm pretty sure nobody wants it here. So can you just vote no and make all your citizens happy? Thanks.
Elijah Evans. On deck, Bruce Yance.
Hello, my name is Elijah Evans. I've lived in Walnut Cove my entire life. I was born here, raised here, married here, have a home here, and recently had a son I'm raising here, and Lord willing, I'll die here. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of stats and facts here tonight, but I wanted to speak directly to the hearts of the commissioners here. I'm not anti-business and I'm not anti-progress, but what we're talking about here today is beyond the pale. 1,800 acres, or 994, some of which is on Native American land, and an area that is already footing the tax bill for the rest of the county. I'm sure there's a lot of suits and deeply pocketed designer pants that are smiling while making lofty promises to deepen even more pockets, but I look around the room and I see strangers, friends, family, a diverse community that is standing together to raise their voices. I'm not mad at Drew Nations or his company. People have jobs and they're just doing theirs. But the treasure of this county is not in its industrial complexes. It's in the beautiful land, rich history, and rural, close-knit communities. There's a way to use this land to make money and bring in revenue, if that's what is desired, but this isn't it. This is a moment in this county that won't soon be forgotten. Your names will be spoken for generations based off of this decision. But I can't say whether the taste people get in their mouths when they say them will be bitter or sweet. That's up to you. So I will leave you with this thought. I wonder how much money it would take for you to sell the soul of this county and deafen your ears to the will of the people that elected you just because you personally think it's a good idea. I hope it's a whole lot more than $40 million.
Bruce Yance. On deck, Madeline Mitchell. Okay.
Commissioners, I'm Bruce Yance. I live at 426 Fowler Road in Walnut Cove, and my career was corporate real estate. Residential growth patterns in North Carolina are generally to the west and northwest. This is due to prevailing winds. Sourtown Township, which includes Walnut Cove and Pine Hall, are in the Greensboro growth pattern. If you need proof, the largest developer in Greensboro has already Roy Carroll has already made his bet, and he's assembled 5,000 acres, being the northeast corner of Stokes County between Amostown and Rockingham County line. Excuse me. He plans an equestrian center with high-end, low-density residential. Mr. Couch has 1,000 acres south of Summerfield that he de-annexed earlier this year, and he plans to develop high-density multifamily. They didn't want that. The reality is the jobs are and will be in Guilford and Forsyth counties. And all of Stokes County residents that work there, they bring money back into the county. They are your economic generators right there. Jobs projected in Greensboro Airport area are now over 17,000. That's right, 17,000 are coming this way. And all these jobs are on the western perimeter of Greensboro. Not everyone will be looking for high-end or high-density neighborhoods. And Walnut Cove is a easy 30 minutes commute, which is what a portion of these future employees will be looking for. driving home from an industrial area to a quiet, small town community. That's what we want. So now it comes down to this. The subject property lies just outside the jurisdiction of Walnut Cove. So the town has no say-so about this, none. And there's no impact fees on this. There's nothing. So they just get a free ride on this thing. And you have to depend on what they say. With all due respect to you guys, this will be decided by 5 people that live in other parts of Stokes County. We have no one representing us. And everybody involved has not been forthcoming. So please, do not approve data centers as a permitted use in H2. That's the easy part. Just leave it the way it is. Don't change the ordinance. And vote to defer consideration on a request, the zoning request. Thank you.
Madeline Mitchell. On deck, Dylan Green.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Madeline Mitchell, and I live on Mitchell Street in Walnut Cove. Tonight you face a decision that will shape the future for Stokes County for decades. This decision is not just about Project Delta. It's about whether we honor the vision we adopted in the Stokes County 2035 plan. Data centers and their on-site power are not currently allowed under any zoning category. More importantly, Project Delta is fundamentally incompatible with the plan's core principles. It would be a direct rejection of our county's vision. The proposed site is designated for low-density residential use, agriculture, and conservation. The plan is clear. This area is meant to preserve rural character. A data center is not a low-density use. It is a large-scale industrial campus, and the plan reserves that type of development for mixed-use centers, corridors, and downtown nodes, not rural land. The project also contradicts our infrastructure policies. The plan directs growth to areas to where water, sewer, and utilities already exist, and warns against forcing taxpayers to fund expensive extensions into rural areas. It further conflicts with our values of environmental stewardship and cultural heritage. The plan prioritizes protecting water quality, natural resources, and agricultural land. A facility with massive energy demand, land disturbance, and water use is inconsistent with those goals. Finally, our rural roads are not designed for heavy industrial traffic. This project would strain infrastructure, reduce safety, and quality of life for nearby residents. Commissioners, this project is out of place, out of scale, and out of line with our adopted policies. Most importantly, consider the precedent you set. If the comprehensive plan can be set aside for this project, it becomes meaningless. I urge you to find Project Delta inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and deny all necessary approvals. Thank you, and I ask you to vote no twice tonight.
Dylan Green. On deck, Lewis Novak.
Hello, my name is Dylan Green. I live in Walnut Cove on Highway 311, adjacent to this property that the data center is projected to go. I'm speaking on behalf of the community that has made its position unmistakably clear. A total of 3,968 signatures have been collected opposing this proposed rezoning for the Project Delta data center. Of those 2,633 signatures, over 66% are from Stokes County residents. Even more striking, 1,249 of those county signatures come from Walnut Cove alone. That means nearly 47% of all Stokes County oppositions is coming from a single community that would experience the most direct and severe impacts. Put it another way, almost 1 out of every 3 people who signed this petition overall lives in Walnut Cove. This is not general or distant concern, it is strong local opposition from residents who will live with the noise, infrastructure strain, and water and energy demands and permanent land use changes this rezoning will allow. The community asked Clean Water for North Carolina to help create this petition because residents were deeply concerned their voices would not otherwise be heard in a process dominated by scale, speed, and outside interests. This petition exists because people felt shut out, and they organized anyway. Tonight we are asking you to do 2 things. First, deny the rezoning request for Project Delta Data Center. Second, we urge you to adopt a moratorium on data centers in Stokes County. A moratorium would give the county and people time to study their full impacts, engage the public in a meaningful way, and determine whether data centers align with the 2035 land use plan and the long-term characteristics of Stokes County before irreversible decisions are made. This board has the authority and responsibility to act in the public interest. The public has spoken clearly overwhelming. Please listen, please vote accordingly. Thank you.
Lewis Novak. On deck, Sandra Novak.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lewis Novak, and I live on Old Town Road, approximately half a mile from the middle of this new center proposal. We have many questions that need to be answered about the proposed data center. What effects will it have on our soil, air, and water? That's already been talked about tonight, but I'd like to have another opinion. How can we ensure that the burial grounds are protected? How much will this noise levels actually affect the residents? Why rezoning M2 heavy industrial and M1? By the way, Duke Power Plant and also the new nuclear reactor is going to be M1. You know, this is going to entail 8 tall buildings equaling 5 to 6 million square feet. For comparison's sake, Haynes Mall is only 1.4 million square feet. The more square footage you have in buildings and machinery, the more noise you're going to have. This will be the second largest data center in Stokes County. ProjectDelta.com, I went on there and looked at a little bit on their site. And it says that, again, the operation noise that we heard tonight is only going to be no more than a conversation or a vacuum cleaner, etc., or a lawnmower. But then why are so many people complaining about these data centers? We've researched this, and we looked at dozens of videos, and we understand that the data centers produce a low frequency, much maybe like a racetrack. By the way, we live about 6 miles from Madison, the racetrack there. We hear that thing. These long wavelengths are not easy to block. And, you know, in other words, these wavelengths can travel for miles, and it's going to reach downtown Walnut Cove. Noise pollution is attributed to poor sleep, migraines, heart disease, stress, and lower learning outcomes for children that are near these data centers. And they operate 24/7. Okay, I have a common sense proposal, and I know it's already been talked about tonight, but we are all united here. We are passionate about this thing, and that's why, and we all feel like we have not been listened to. And you know, we've had these little meetings and stuff, but we've been cut down to 2 minutes to speak. Look all the cut I had on this thing. We're not getting enough time to represent what we're thinking. And we like to have some people here with their expertise, not from the corporation, but outsiders that would give us more of a independent view on some of these issues. I'd like to know how it's going to affect the environment, the pollution. And again, we see it doesn't affect, or it doesn't not supported by our 2035 plan, which protects the.
Sorry, we need to move on.
Can I just finish? Almost done.
Got other speakers behind you.
Okay, I promise I'll be real quick. Finish up.
All right, let's.
Okay, okay. The people in town already voted, and I think we need to be thinking about the people's views here, and also let's delay the vote. We're asking you just to delay it, give a little more time. Because once these data centers are built, there's nothing we can do. We can't go back. And they could take more than they give. Thank you.
Sandra Novak. On deck, Daniel Webster.
I'm Lou's wife, Sandy Novak. I did not know I was coming to speak tonight, but my husband urged me to do so. And I want to say this. I said, 2 minutes is not enough time for me to convey to you the concern on my heart for our home, our family, and this community. We did the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. And you know what it says at the end? It says, for liberty and justice for all. Guess what I am? I am all. I'm a resident of this county. There's only probably about 2,000 to 3,000 of us right here. I don't know how many people Stokes County has, 43,000? But do you throw the residents of one small area under the bus for $40 million? The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. My husband and I moved here 23 years ago. We moved here from Mexico. We were missionaries there for 10 years. I never had a home of my own. We lived in 27 homes as missionaries. We chose this county because of the biking, the quietness, the farmlands. We chose this as our community, and we love this community. We love the people in it. We love our neighbors. We have a ministry here. We built our home from nothing. We cut the trees on our land when we came here. We had a first grader and a fourth grader, and they helped us every night after my husband taught school. Here's what I want to say. Excuse me. I have a lot to say. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from darkness. Here's our situation. We have not been heard. You have had your hearings, and these people here have come in and presented a lot. We have not been able to express our hearts. And we cannot express our hearts through emails or telephone calls. We need to talk to you in person, and you need to talk to us. Where there's no light, there's darkness, and I'll end with this. We have to have discovery, and lots of it. We must have debate, and then we come to logical decisions. And decisions that we make in darkness can be devastating to us. Decisions made in darkness can be devastating. And this is in my backyard. I have a ministry. I have a hospitality ministry. I invite people in and we talk and share in my backyard, and it's beautiful. I live 4/10 of a mile from where this first building is going to go up. It will destroy all of my hopes and dreams, and it will destroy my quality of life. And I'm too old to start over and cut down trees and build somewhere else. This is my home. I've chosen it. And God has a plan for us here, and we need to learn to trust Him. He says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Godliness with contentment is great gain.
We
I
need
believe
to
that.
move on. We need to move on. Thank you.
Daniel Webster, on deck, Mason Mitchell.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. My name is Daniel Webster. I live on Lakeside Drive in Walnut Cove, and I would like to talk to you today about taxes, more specifically about tax exemptions for data centers. In North Carolina, data centers are already exempt from paying sales tax on electricity, computer software, and items listed as data center support equipment. This listing includes everything from generators, HVAC equipment, to wire. Basically everything a data center would need to purchase to operate. North Carolina is opaque on tax breaks awarded to its centers, but Virginia and Texas have released that they have lost over $1 billion in 2025 alone due to these tax breaks. County governments have also been giving tax breaks as well. In Caldwell County, a data center owned by Google paid $78 million in property taxes from 2013 to 2025. Through a Freedom of Information request, it was discovered that an agreement had been struck with Google when they first arrived, and $73 million of that was rebated back to them. In another instance, the Richmond County Board of Commissioners approved a property tax abatement on data centers that are owned by Amazon that will last for 20 years. We cannot accept the promise of $40 million only for most of it to be given back as a tax break. We cannot reward the noise and air pollution with tax breaks and that is why I'm asking the board to deny rezoning request. Thank you.
Mason Mitchell. On deck, Alicia McHugh.
Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mason Mitchell, and I live on Mitchell Street in Walnut Cove. I'm here today with a public safety and security concern. A 900-acre data center is not merely a zoning matter, it is critical infrastructure. Facilities of this nature fundamentally alter a county's risk and threat profile. Projects like this bring heavy industrial traffic, hazardous materials, high voltage systems, and workforce surges. They also generate significant new demand on law enforcement, fire suppression, EMS, and emergency management. Yet today, our sheriff's office is understaffed, our fire departments are stretched thin, and this county has no dedicated critical infrastructure security or incident response capability to support an asset of this magnitude. From a physical security standpoint, critical infrastructure requires layered protection, hardened design, coordinated response planning, mutual aid capacity, and sustained funding. Without those elements in place before approval, we are not accepting growth, we are accepting liability. Before rezoning, I urge this commission to ask a hard question. Are we prepared to protect, to respond, and recover from an incident involving infrastructure that would be vital not only locally, but regionally? If not, then safety planning must come before approval, not after construction begins. 3 critical questions. If this facility becomes regional critical infrastructure, who is responsible operationally and financially for the additional law enforcement, fire, and EMS capacity it will require? In the event of a major incident, fire, sabotage, power failure, or hazardous materials release, do we currently have the personnel, training, and mutual aid agreements to respond without overwhelming the rest of the county? Are we comfortable permanently changing this county's threat profile without a publicly reviewed, fully funded physical security and emergency response plan in place first? And I'll close with this. Has the county conducted a formal threat and hazard risk assessment that accounts for intentional acts, cascading failures, and regional dependencies? If not, why are we moving forward with that one? Public safety is not an afterthought, it's a prerequisite. Thank you for your time.
Alicia McHugh. On deck, Eric Donovan.
Sorry, my nerves will probably get the best of me. I just want to say that upstairs is utterly brutal. It's very hot, very filled with your citizens who are against this data center. My name is Alicia McHugh. I live in Pine Hall, North Carolina. We are less than 2 miles from the data center site. I did have the opportunity to speak to 2 commissioners. I won't name them right now unless you would like me to. The other 3 never returned phone calls or emails. After speaking to the commissioners who actually did answer their phones, they said they would not want a data center in their backyard or within 1 to 2 miles of their home. Well, the other 3 did not respond. If you would not want to live next to this project yourselves, how is it fair to approve it for other families who call this place home? I am asking you to listen to those of us who actually live here and would be directly impacted. We do not want this next door to our homes, farms, families. Drew Nations, the developer, is a great salesman, but once this project is done, and it should never even happen, it shouldn't even be built, he will sell it and move on. We will be the ones left to live with the consequences. Stokes County and data centers should not even be in the same sentence. I urge you to vote no on rezoning or adding data centers to our zoning at all. Thank you.
Eric Donovan. On deck, Jessica Wilson.
Good evening, Eric Donovan, Summit Street, Walnut Cove. I don't have anything really planned to speak, but I am a realtor in Walnut Cove, and I've been in real estate 30 years, realtor in Walnut Cove 9 years, and I have yet to come across of anybody looking to buy land right next to any data center properties available. Not yet. What's happening is more and more people are saying, where is the closest data center? I don't want to be anywhere near it. And I know that everything sounds great when it comes from, the sales reps that represent this stuff, but I cannot see million square foot buildings being powered on site and you not hear that noise. I know when the power goes out, I can hear my neighbor's generator I'm almost 3/4 of an acre away. It's dead quiet. Same with over there. There is no background noise. If this was in a city, maybe you have background noise and it muffles it down. But who is going to be buying up the houses within a half a mile, quarter mile, 1 mile when the decibel level is unlivable? Because I believe it's going to happen. And then who do we sue? Do we have to fight Amazon? Or do we have to fight these guys? Or do we have to fight the county for allowing it? Who are we going to sue? I'm not suing Google or Amazon or anybody else like that because we're not going to win. So that's just my point. I want to just say, who is going to defend these homeowners within a mile, or where I live, 1.5 miles, when I can't sleep at night? Am I going to go after, the zoning, or is it just, that's it, it's Google? Good luck. So that's my point, and I hope you guys take that in consideration before we move ahead of how we're going to battle this after the fact that when it's here. Thank you.
Jessica Wilson, on deck, Casey Moravec.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I want to thank all the residents here tonight and your engagement in this conversation. My name is Jessica Wilson. I'm the Director of Technical Services and Education for the Carolinas Ready Mix Concrete Association. And I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to participate in the Stokes County Commissioners meeting and to engage in constructive dialogue regarding the proposed data center development, Project Delta. CRMCA represents ready mix concrete producers, 3 of which are here tonight, and industry partners across North and South Carolina, including the suppliers and professionals who support the building of our homes, neighborhoods, and the critical infrastructure that serves our communities. From an advocacy perspective, CRMCA works alongside our producer members to ensure the industry operates responsibly, safely, and in compliance with regulations while contributing to local economies and long-term community needs. CRMCA recognizes that projects of this scale naturally generate valid questions and concerns among residents. We respect the viewpoints of community members who are seeking transparency regarding land use, infrastructure capacity, quality of life, and cultural impacts. Our intent in participating today is not to dismiss those concerns, but to provide context on the construction workforce and economic implications of this proposal so that the decision-making is informed and balanced. We've already talked about the estimated 5 to 6 million square feet of substantial local construction investment. At a minimum, a project of this size requires 1,000 or more skilled construction professionals on site, including concrete producers, drivers, finishers, inspectors, you name it. These are skilled, family-sustaining jobs that contribute directly to the local and regional workforce and provide meaningful economic activity during construction. But I do want to point out something very important. And I literally live in the second and fastest growing county in North Carolina and across the nation, Brunswick County. But I represent the Carolinas, so know that. I'm no stranger to growth and development. In the broader context, data center development is not a short-term trend. So I trust this community and all of you tonight to make the best strategic decision that you have for Stokes County for its long-term prosperity. So thank you. We are your partners.
Casey Moravec. On deck will be Jenny Hemrick.
Good evening. My name is Casey Moravec, and I'm an attorney with the Southern Environmental Law Center. Tonight, you are faced with 2 decisions regarding data centers that will have lasting and permanent effects on the future of development in Stokes County. We ask that you deny both requests. Additionally, we have a series of questions for you that have yet to be answered on these proposals. First, we know that the servers in these data centers become outdated in 3 to 5 years. What is your plan for ensuring that this data center does not become obsolete and a drain on the land and community? Similarly, if there is an AI bubble, what is your plan for recuperating costs if the data center is not built or the developer goes bankrupt? The data center is being located up against a floodplain, which means that it is an area vulnerable to natural disasters. What will happen if its operations are disrupted? Are taxpayers on the hook for damage? This is what is currently happening in Western North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, because federal funding has not come through. Why are data centers being proposed for heavy manufacturing conditional zoning in the zoning ordinance when in fact they are being added to the permitted use table section 92.1? By adding them as a permitted use, data centers will be allowed to be constructed in heavy manufacturing districts as of right, without public notice and a hearing. It is confusing to label this amendment as a conditional zoning. If the 850 acres of floodplain is not going to be developed, why not leave it zoned as residential agricultural? There is no obvious reason that it needs to be rezoned to heavy manufacturing. The floodplain's current zoning already protects it from being developed. Mr. Nation stated tonight that the data center will use a closed-loop air-cooled chillers. Will this system require a refrigerant or other chemicals? Many refrigerants contain harmful chemicals like PFAS. What is the power demand of this type of system? Finally, why has there been no commitment to how long the data center will operate on generators? We've heard anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. What is your plan to mitigate the harmful air pollution that will result from the use of generators 24/7? Have you considered how the air pollution will affect the economy, which relies on tourism, and harm people's health? Thank you for considering these questions.
Jenny Hemrick on deck. Martha.
With permission from the commissioners, can I speak from here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm Jenny Hemrick. I live in Danbury. I am a Presbyterian minister, and as I have prayed over this situation and heard other people speak, and tonight even, I have prayed and prayed for God's direction for me and how I should feel about this. And suddenly it came to me that it's very clear in the very first chapter of the book of Holy Scripture, when God said, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and care for it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours. God has directed us in the Holy Scripture as to how we should be responsible for the land. I don't envy you in this decision, but I will ask you this. In caring for the land that God has given us and all that God has created, and in light of the 2035 plan that was to focus on developing more tourism, is this the answer? Thank you.
Martha Hartley on deck. Tina Yuntz.
Good evening. I'm Martha Hartley, a Stokes County resident of 33 years. My graduate degree is in planning, and I've spent 40 years working in historic preservation. I pay attention to land use. The proposed rezoning is wrong, and I oppose it. This pristine land should have been protected decades ago, certainly when the Upper Saratown discoveries were made and when the Hairston significance was realized. However, it's not too late to protect this important land and source of county identity. Last week I answered a telephone survey about the project, and one of the first questions was something like this: do you want economic development or do you want land conservation? My response is they're not mutually exclusive, but actually work together. Stokes County's natural assets are among its best economic development tools. The 2035 Stokes County Plan recognizes the county as a unique and beautiful place that includes the Saratown Mountains, the Dan River, rural character, and small town charm. Stokes County should purchase the 1,845 acres and protect it. The landowner is a philanthropic man. Certainly Mr. Couch has generously supported Wake Forest University. he may make a partial donation of the land. Because of what it is, this land provides major opportunity for Stokes County and as a premier public place mixing history, nature, and recreation. Imagine walking and biking trails, hiking trails, historic interpretation, fishing and boating access, birding stations, wildlife education, and collaborative lodging and dining nearby. There is so much potential. Please don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the public speaking. That's 1 hour. Go back to zone.
Get comments on this.
Okay. This time we'll get comments from our commissioners, and I'll start with Commissioner Chandler.
I want to start with.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've heard both sides of this argument now for a pretty good while. A lot of information has been put out on it. So I'd like to just address a couple of areas. First, some background information on this property that folks may or may not be familiar with. A map that Drew showed up there that I kind of created my own version of it earlier, but he also had something, I think, probably from the same GIS printout of this area. First of all, before I get to that even, I've been working with the county now since 2004 off and on as county manager and county commissioner. One of the things we've done during that entire time is try to increase businesses in the county to offset the individuals having to pay so much property tax. Probably the number one question I get, or have had both in both of those roles, was when are you going to get some business in here so we don't have to pay such high property tax? The landowners are bearing the burden of funding this whole government, which is mandated to provide a lot of services. And so I've as county manager and then later as a commissioner, I made a campaign promise that would be a top priority of mine. And that's recruiting large, small, and medium businesses anywhere we could find them to fund the government and to relieve pressure on the taxpayers and the landowners. I take my campaign promises very seriously whenever I make one. A little more background on this situation. We've had like 2 or 3 economic development directors since I've been associated with the county. Have lots of discussions on economic development and where we could do it and where we couldn't do it. The geography of the county dictates a lot of that, with where rock's located and curves and mountains and so forth, and state parks and whatever. So one of our problems and one of the reasons we've had a lot of trouble generating enough revenue to run this place is those limitations. But one of the major areas other than the city of King that I thought everybody understood was that the 311 corridor is the best place to locate businesses. It's not to punish that area, but they happen to have a good road that's close currently now to the new interstate. They have a power plant right beside of it. They have utilities like natural gas and other utilities. They have all of the ingredients that draw people to development. So since we're very limited and we're trying to get business to help fund things, I thought everybody understood that we were trying to get every kind of business we could in there. And if you look at it from one end to the other, it is businesses. It starts with businesses at the food line and goes to businesses out to Veland and businesses all along the way. So I suspect that's why the current landowner of this area purchased the land because it is a sort of an industrial corridor, and the only one we've really got based on those limitations that I mentioned. If you zero in on the map that I'd referenced earlier and stand in the middle of the area that's being requested for zoning, with your back to 311, if you look straight ahead north, you'll see a commercial solar farm. When that solar farm was put in, that set a precedent for solar farms in that area. I don't know if you're familiar or not, most of you, but we've had a earlier request for the use of this land for another purpose, and that was to put a 660-acre solar farm on it. Whenever we disapproved that, or when the board disapproved that, we were then sued, and we're in an active lawsuit at this time over that. If we lose that lawsuit, we could have a 660-acre solar farm sitting there that would produce no revenue, almost zero revenue for the county. And we may lose. Who knows if we'll win or lose if that lawsuit were to go forward. It's not likely that it would if the data center is approved. And the other thing about this, I think, as I mentioned, a developer purchased this land for the reasons I stated. He's the owner, and I think it's pretty clear that based on the two requests we've had, he intends to develop the land. So, I don't know why everybody thinks these particular parcels are some exception. Whenever, like I said, if you stand and look at it, to the north is a solar farm, commercial solar farm. I think it's over 300 acres. It's being constructed out there now. You turn a little bit to the right on the north side of 311. There's another heavy industrial zone already zoned. If you go a little bit further and cross 311, there's an educational forest. If you then keep moving right, there's another large industrial zone parcel. And then if you circle around to the south or the southwest, you have a manufacturing facility. So I don't think it's any mystery of why he may have purchased the land for development when everything around it is development, is zoned for development or similar non-residential uses. So that's the background that I considered. Secondly, the county revenue. This county desperately needs the revenue that this data center could produce. When I was county manager and then serving as a commissioner, we have been starved for revenue that we needed for basic functions like keeping schools, buildings maintained, keeping county buildings maintained, upgrading operations in the county for more efficiency. And that's partially because we have a history of commissioner boards getting elected, and they were single issue candidates, no property tax increase. We went for a period since I started working here in 2004 where we went 10 straight years with no property tax increase. And that's had repercussions that this board currently is trying to deal with now. I don't know if the folks that got here before daylight, you may have seen this courthouse expansion going on as you were coming up the hill. In addition to the recurring revenue requirements we have to try to provide all the services that we are mandated to provide to the public, we get unfunded mandates. That's a $12 million one right there that you drove past as you were coming in. And so I don't want to minimize how important this recurring revenue from the data center would be to making Stokes County a better place overall. And we're in kind of a catch-22, because it's interesting. We can't even get the county to pass a 1/4 cent sales tax increase to try to offset some of this property tax burden that's on our taxpayers. So we can't minimize this issue and just blow it off because we don't like the data center. There's a data center in one of the counties here, I think it may be one that Wayne visited, that our tax administrator put some information together for us on. Right now we pay about $6 million, we get about $6 million in tax revenue from Duke Energy. That saves the residents here about 12 cents on their tax rate. There's a data center, I think it's in Caswell or one of the counties not too far from here, on 199 acres that he looked up. The value that Duke Energy is about $900 million that produces that $6 million in tax revenue. This one data center on 190 acres is worth $1.3 billion for tax revenue, and that's why they approved it too, because they have the same issues that we do. So we have to seriously consider the revenue impacts of this, and having, I mean, we've been working like for 20 years to try to find a revenue stream like this, and nobody ever dreamed that you could, you know, have buildings full of servers that would just sit there and produce that kind of revenue for the county. And they don't show up that often, those opportunities, so we got to really seriously consider this. The other thing, all the folks that sent us a gazillion emails and phone calls and so forth against this data center, I never got one suggestion. Well, I did get one suggestion of how we would replace this revenue if we don't do the data center. And that one suggestion was get it somewhere else. Well, I'll tell you where that somewhere else is. It's out of the individual taxpayer's pocket is the only other place we have to go get it. So beyond that, like I said, you just can't discount a revenue stream that could have so many benefits to Stokes County. And it's not just a one-time revenue, it's a recurring revenue of revenue amounts that are being talked about here. That aside, you know, I'm a Trump supporter and Trump's initiative specifically to beat China in the AI race. If everybody says you're not building a data center in my backyard, we probably will not win that race. So I think that's something that you can't really, especially everybody that's in here using devices, needs to kind of keep in mind. And this AI thing is a big deal. That we win that race for our own national security and everything else. So, and my conclusion basically is, you know, this is a lot of jobs. 250 jobs is a big deal in Stokes County. That's the other thing that everybody wants. That's, you know, get the business in here so our people don't all leave. And 250 to 500 jobs is not a small deal. I think the guys have made an effort and said they will continue to address the cultural issues that have been discussed. I think the conditions that we've required are appropriate, and that ELS has agreed to them. They followed our zoning process, and they're very transparent in answering questions, holding public meetings. And there are no NDAs in place right now. As Drew said, he's provided information and will continue to do that, and the county government will do the same thing as we move forward if we approve this project. And this is just the beginning stage. This is a land use decision. The construction project itself will require numerous federal, state, and level permits that will give protections for a lot of the things that people are concerned about. I think ELS has demonstrated that they will be flexible if we do encounter things that are unintended consequences, especially for the people that live close to the property. And the long-term benefits of a revenue stream like this and all the things it could be applied to are massive. it's just me. I don't see how you pass up an opportunity like this. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris.
I'll be quick.
Go ahead, man.
So, I got numerous emails, telephone calls, and I answered almost all of them. Emails, telephone calls, reading the emails. A lot of them had the same content. There's a lot of feelings, and I understand that with the data center. I went back and forth, doing my own research and everything. And the one thing that I can't get away from is number one is, why I moved to Stokes County, bought property in Stokes County, because I wanted to farm. Love horses, donkeys, chickens, and I mean, it is hypocritical for me to say that I would like to have a huge data center on the top of my pasture. And, I'm the one thing that I have, I mean, some people may disagree, but coming from, in law enforcement and being pretty high up the food chain is I have integrity. And would the revenue be really, really helpful for Stokes County? Yes. And I'm not pushing back to the point to what Commissioner Morris is saying is wrong, because I mean a lot of its facts or is correct. And unfortunately that's kind of where the industry has went. And I'll be honest with you, my wife and I, we have two different views of what I wanted in the property and what she wanted in the property. It took about a year to find the right property. But looking for land that's got water and to where I want some views and I want rolling hills for my cattle and my horses, and to be able to, have some peace. We didn't look at one place in Walnut Cove or Pine Hall. The realtor, Carolina Farms, never took us there. Because I mean, that's what my wife and I wanted. And so I guess part of my thing is, so the people that were living there before the corridor was established, I have sympathy for them. I also have sympathy for the property owner, because the property owner has every right to do whatever they want to do with it per zoning, and to get it rezoned if it's not proper. I don't have any doubt that Drew will not do what he said. I'm not here to say. The only thing I did have some questions on is when I asked about the noise, the type of noise. Because Mr. Smith, I mean, he corresponded with me a few times, and especially on email, and his stuff was different. His stuff wasn't emotions. His stuff was pretty methodical, and it really had me, kind of spin a little bit. So, with that, I still got a little bit of a doubt. But the long story short, I want to listen to cows mooing, chickens. That's just me. That's just what I want. So I mean, if Drew would say, "Hey, I'd like to know if I could buy some of your property on the other side of the pasture," I wouldn't sell it to him. I mean, even for $1 million, because it's my quality of life. But I get it. It's not all, it's not everybody that has that dream. But at the same time, I have to go with my integrity, and I just can't. I can't support it based on that.
So,
First of all, let me say that I appreciate the concern, the questions, the amount of people here to voice their opinions, the calls, the emails, all of which I've read but have not been able to respond to all of them because of just the sheer volume. But just know it has not fell on deaf ears, and everything has been considered and prayed over and reconsidered. We're here to take up the matter of this rezoning of this property. And yes, it's M2, and that's because the way the zoning is written and the place that it has to fit into. There's nothing nefarious about us doing it M2. As has been stated, the subject site is surrounded by M1 and M2 up and down the 311 corridor. As you know, I was one of the 3 that voted not to allow another solar farm on this site. I thought that 2 huge solar farms that were already approved before I became a commissioner was enough for this area. I was worried about groundwater contamination. I thought it would be an eyesore. I was worried about the effects on property values, and I had concerns about the chemicals and materials that are used in those panels. So yes, I do care about this area of the county enough to say no to this developer the last time, even though we were threatened with a lawsuit, which he did follow through with, and we're currently spending our taxpayer money to defend that lawsuit. Why, you might ask, is a data center different in my opinion? Well, there are many differences that exist. The biggest of which is obvious. It's the elephant in the room, and we've already talked about it, and that's the sheer amount of monetary benefit to a Tier 2 county such as Stokes, where the annual wage is right around $40,475 per the North Carolina Economic Development website. Stokes County historically has been designated as an economically distressed county. So an estimated 20 to 40 million in tax revenue is just a huge thing for a economically distressed county. Now, money isn't everything. I know this. I know that Stokes County is rich. It's rich in people. It's rich in people who aren't afraid of hard work. It's farmers who still work from sun up to sundown. We're rich in our commitment to our communities, to each other. We are rich in our natural resources, which we all like to take advantage of. We like Hanging Rock State Park, our beautiful mountains, Moratok Park, our river. Families come here to enjoy that. My family enjoys that. Our heritage, our dedicated teachers, our school employees, and our schools that are top tier in the state that outrank much larger counties around us consistently. But you know what's a shame? It's that we treat our students in a manner where they are asked to be at the top of their game when they are trying to learn in buildings that were built in the 1950s, with roofs that leak, with mold, with paint that's peeling, and with HVAC issues, in conditions that you and I wouldn't want to work in, much less learn in. We fuss about schools having to close when there aren't enough students in an economically disadvantaged area anymore. But when we're offered something that could be a game changer for our county, for our schools, for economic development, we don't want it. Because at the end of the day, we want new schools. We want more than 4 deputies on the roads at one time in Stokes County. We want a new hospital. We want water and sewer and infrastructure everywhere. But nobody wants to make a sacrifice to get those things, or make a hard decision, as has happened in the past in this county, because I've been in this for over 20 years now. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. And that's what our county has been doing for the last 30 years or more. Tobacco farming is gone. I don't know if they used to grow tobacco on that property, but I would guess they probably did years ago. And that's just not coming back. As much as all of us hate that, it's just not coming back. All I've heard when I was on the Board of Education for 15 years and now as a commissioner for 5 has been that our county cannot expect to keep putting the tax burden on homeowners and small businesses of this county. You simply can't provide all the needs of a county, and especially grow a county, based on ad valorem taxes. Everybody in this room knows that. It's not going to happen. We need businesses, manufacturing, jobs, Stokes County Schools is the largest employer. Duke Energy is the largest taxpayer, around $6.5 million a year. They pay their fair share, as some have tried to state that they don't, but they do. In the Winston-Salem Journal on Sunday, December 28th, John Boyd was interviewed of the firm The Boyd Company, and he said, a Walnut Cove data center could easily be a multi-billion-dollar capital investment. The campus could be a catalyst for economic development, housing, retail, office, and other commercial development, not to mention the millions in property tax that a data center would pay. It's the gift that keeps on giving, he said, as every few years, millions of dollars of equipment has to be replaced, generating more tax revenue for Stokes County. And no, Stokes County is not offering any tax incentives or tax breaks on this project to a data center. Many have questioned the number of jobs, and as we've heard, it can be anywhere from 200 or 300, as many as 400 when it's built out, is completed. Jobs that pay well over $100,000. And as I mentioned earlier and asked Mr. Nations, our community colleges are poised to be able to provide the training for these jobs. I believe that ELS has listened to the concerns of the citizens and made some needed changes to the conditional zoning request that has made it more palatable, especially putting the 800 acres into a land conservancy which protects it from future development. The known historical sites are on the Dan River in the floodplain and will not be disturbed. So these culturally significant areas will be protected much more than they are right now. No protections currently exist. 45% of this project will be conservancy of the land. Now, why hasn't this already happened as it should have been? Why hasn't this land already been protected? I can't answer that. But I will say I think it should have happened a long time ago. And I get the unknown is scary. AI is scary. I'm not a fan of AI at all. But whether we like it or not, if we do or do not build a data center in Stokes County, it won't stop AI. All of us probably use MyChart. Just about anyone who goes to the doctor has some of their medical info is stored somewhere in a data center. We want our email, we want our pictures, we want all of our stuff. Everybody's using TikTok, Snapchat, or Instagram. Not everybody, of course, but you're using Venmo, Apple Pay. All of these things are stored in a data center. Is there some risk involved? Sure. Can every detail be known? No. This county and the ones who came before me played it safe for far too long. If you don't grow, you die on the vine. I don't want Stokes County to die on the vine. I want it to prosper. I want my grandkids to be able to stay here and work and get good jobs. I want us to have modern schools and appropriate fire and police protection. I want highly trained paramedics. Enough paramedics so when 4 of them are in Winston-Salem taking people to the hospital or whatever, that there's some left here in our county when me or one of us have a heart attack. Do I want a data center? Not so much. But I do want the things that the revenue can bring to our county. And let me say this. I don't know if you've had, let me just say this. I've been looking and praying for God's providence and provision for the needs of our county. And I don't know if you've ever heard the parable of the drowning man who was stuck on the roof during the flood. And he prayed for help. And a rowboat came by and said, "Jump in, I'll save you." He said, "No, God's going to save me." Then a motorboat came by. "Jump in, we'll save you, take you to safety." "No, I'm waiting on God. I prayed. He's going to deliver me. He's going to save me." A helicopter comes by. "Throw you a rope. You can climb to safety." No, God's going to save me. So guess what? The man drowned. He went to heaven. Said to God, "Why didn't you save me?" He said, "I sent a helicopter. I sent 2 boats. You didn't." So I prayed. I've asked for provision. I believe that this is the answer to my prayer. That's all.
Amen. Well, I feel like I've been to church tonight.
Amen.
My family come down. The first deed that I found was in Surrey County. That's how long I've been here. I've looked out at those stacks forever from being raised on a tobacco farm. Like I said earlier, I got in the reinforcing steel business. I've done a lot of the data centers in the Carolinas. I've been on the sites. I've seen them. I wasn't crazy about for one coming to Stokes, but I'm a firm believer in God. And while I was praying about this one morning, my wife, bless her heart, sorry honey, I'm gonna tell on you. She had Fox News on arguing with somebody as she drinks her morning coffee. And Charles Payne, Fox Business, come on and made the comment, any city or county who refuses to commit to a data center is committing economic suicide. And I says, I'm in. Plus, Drew, I hope I can call you Drew. I feel like we can, I don't want to say control you, but you will listen to what we want in this to make it something you're proud of. With the security and buffers, if you're hearing this stuff, you're trespassing. Is what I feel like, because I ain't heard one yet, and I've been on several sites. I'm gonna let the Catawbas, one lady says, what happens after 5 years? Well, your cloud, everybody that's got an iPhone is in Catawba off 321, and they're getting ready to add on to it and replace it, and it's been there since 2014. I've been involved with Google sites, and I'm not, another thing you got to watch this day and time is, and I want to, is where is this stuff coming from, your information? Don't trust internet and Google. In my opinion, it'll send you straight to hell. You better dig deeper than that. I'm not going to steal some of Wayne's. He's actually been to that site, and he can comment on that. As far as security, the young man that said worried about security, you ain't got to worry about security. Whoever owns that site is going to have their own security. And my biggest fear is a hunter getting over the fence some way, because it's not pretty. You do not get on these sites without permission, or it's trouble, big trouble. So I agree with everybody else. The one thing, I'm wrapping up a 4-year term. I did not run for re-election because, number one, I'm old. Number two, everybody needs to sit up here. You do not know what it costs to run this county. You don't have a clue. And then I sit here and hear there's no place for abused women or abused kids to go to. They go to Main Street on Want Cove and that little old building down there under the water tower. Why ain't there a house built that the county pays for? So the elderly, I guess because of my white hair, I've become the poster child. Don't do that. Why don't you leave if all you can do is raise a sign? Send her out of here. Anyway, that's all I got.
Well, I guess it's down to me now. Like Commissioner Wood said, I did go to Catawba County, and I looked at data centers. I looked at solar farms. Very nice, very well kept up. But this is bared on me for some time, and I've struggled with it. And I met with Drew the other day for 1 hour. 1 hour. I'm no data center expert by no means whatsoever. It's hard for me to grasp it by mind what's really transpiring with a data center when I have spoke with a gentleman for 1 hour. And as I was going back through the Stokes County planning and rezoning, and I'm not called out anybody by no means, I see where the 1,000 acres has been wiped out and wrote in 1,000 acres. Our planning and zoning couldn't get it correct to start with. It was a typo, and that's the problem I got with it. I've heard 1,800 some acres. I've heard 900 acres. I've heard 800 acres, and the biggest majority of the acreage that I went and looked at was anywhere from 200 to 350 acres. But it's mind-boggling to me why we got picked to put such a massive data center. That's the problem I got with it. And no, I'm not for it. So I'll entertain a motion this time. I hear a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion on the text amendment.
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the text amendment of adding data center to the definitions into the list of permitted uses under M2CZ zoning district by the planning department because it's reasonable and consistent with the Stokes County 2035 long range plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All opposed? Aye. Guess we need to move it. Result was? Yep.
3-2.
Can we move that to action?
We just approved it. Made a motion to approve, we voted on it.
No, I didn't. No, not the tax, no, I just voted against the tax data center.
I'm getting ready to text them.
That was
Yes.
what we just voted on, the text amendment.
The text amendment.
What was the vote?
3-2 in favor.
Eric, if I gotta read all this?
Yes, please.
I make a motion to approve rezoning request 250884 submitted by DFC Stokes LLC and DFC Stokes 2 LLC to rezone 1844. Is that what we changed it to? 1844.9 acres from RA residential agricultural zone district to M2 CZ heavy manufacturing conditional zoning for a data center. This request is consistent with the Stokes County 2035 long range plan and is a reasonable request with the following conditions. Number one, permitted use shall be limited to data center, all accessory and auxiliary, supportive, or fundamental related use facilities and technology included but not limited to power generated substation, electrical transmission infrastructure, natural gas infrastructure, generators, batteries, security. Did I miss something?
Equipment yards.
Equipment yards, diesel, natural gas, batteries, security guard, checkpoints, on-site security facilities, container storage, and fuel storage. Number two, the project will utilize a closed-loop cooling system as its primary method of cooling and ensuring efficient water use. All buildings will be accessed a minimum of 100 feet from the perimeter of the site, and aforementioned setback area that will be maintained as a vegetative buffer, which may include existing vegetation, supplemental plantings, and a combination thereof. Number four, maximum building height shall be 80 feet. Number five, sound generated by permits use will be limited to the maximum of 70 dB along the borders and perimeters of the property. Power generation facility will be concentrated in the center portion of the development with no equipment permitted within the 300 feet of the development outside boundaries. Number seven, primary vehicles access to the site will be provided by US 311 and Old Town Road. Secondary vehicle access, including emergency and utility access, and may be provided from Tuttle Road or other locations that are required by state, local, state, and federal laws, ordinance, and regulations.
Motion.
Yeah, that was a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Hold on a second. Are we voting on what now? Rezoning.
Rezoning.
Okay, can we have discussion 1 second? I just
Yeah,
have one
go
more
ahead.
comment. One additional comment I have is that if if we turn down this data center and a solar field ended up out there on that property, it would be a tragedy because it would produce nothing for the county but an ugly eyesore and no revenue. That's all I have. I'm ready to vote.
Entertain a motion. You got a
Made
second?
a motion, I second, so you need a vote.
Need to vote.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Aye. Two opposed, three pass.
Action agenda.
Action.
Oh. We gonna approve that, Jackson rezone.
We've already done that. We already
We've already done that.
voted on it.
Oh, we did.
Board of Health Department?
We voted on it. We're still meeting.
It wasn't just a nomination then?
No, I mean, did they vote on
Meeting
it?
is still going on.
We still got the meeting going
We already did
on.
it, yeah.
Then-
Yeah.
yeah.
Are we in the?
Yeah, you did vote on,
Action.
you
Okay, I didn't know if
approved
you,
item 1.
I didn't know if you had motioned for it to go to action.
We
That's
approved
fine. I mean,
it.
I've got that then. At the last meeting, I mentioned that Dr. Candace Fix applied for the vacant optometrist position for the Board of Health, and at the last board meeting, she was nominated for that position. As standard, we always wait 2 weeks and then see if we had gotten any more applications. We did not. So in that case, the board will poll for her appointment. All you'd have to do is each go and say,
Dr. Fix.
Dr. Fix.
Dr. Fix.
Dr. Fix.
Dr. Fix.
thank you.
Make a motion, we go into closed.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're going into closed session for the following rationale: to consider the initial employment or appointment of an individual to any office or position other than the vacancy in the Board of County Commissioners in any other public body, or to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness of any public officer or employee other than a member of the Board of Commissioners or some other public body pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
Making a motion, we go into closed session.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-minute recess.
Remember that, don't you? How well I do.
You're good to go.
I entertain a motion, we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Figure that one out.
Hey, before y'all go, make sure my truck cranks